morning.
Good morning.
Would you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
Yes, I'm Melodye Flores.
And Ms. Flores, what do you do for a living?
Well, I used to work at with the school district in Uvalde at Robb.
And where do you work now?
I work in Uvalde ISD.
And what do you do at BVO ISD?
I'm a bus aide.
A bus aide?
Yes.
And tell us what a bus aide is.
Bus aide is when you go with the driver, and that's my part. Is the special ed bus, so I make sure they're seated with their seatbelts at all times and follow the rules on the bus.
So your assignment is basically the special ed children
Yes,
on the bus. And
yes.
you help
Yes.
make sure they're following the rules while
Yes.
they're on the bus.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. And when did you start that work?
I started back in January, which I already have a year working with the. With
So you have
BVIs.
a year, so it's been just right out a year since you started that work?
Yes.
Okay. And before that work, what did you do?
I was working at with the school district in Uvalde, at Robb at that time.
And how long had you lived in Uvalde?
I want to say like 25 years.
25
And I
years?
worked with the school district there for 23.
Okay. And what did you do at the school district for those 23 years?
First I started off as a parent liaison, and then I started as an instructional aide.
And tell us what an instructional aide
An
is.
instructional aide is helping a teacher with some of the students that need the extra help.
And the kids that need extra help, what kind of kids are we visiting about now?
They're like the lower, like
Excuse me?
the lower class, the lower, like their studies.
Their
So,
studies
yes.
need help.
Yes.
And you assist in that way?
Yes, I did.
Okay. And in 2022, that school year, what were you doing?
The 2 years there at Robb, I was an instructional aide with the 4th grade teacher, and then these last 2 years there, I was a behavior unit aide and special ed aide also.
Behavioral unit aide and special ed
Yes.
aide? Tell me what those two things are.
Special ed is I would do part helping with the special ed students, and the behavior unit I would do the other half with just a student. With the
Behavioral
behavior,
aid, you would
with
just
the-
work with one student at
Yes,
a time?
I would do half and half day with them and the other
And what
half.
did you do with those students?
With those students,
When you aided, what kind of activities were you doing?
of course, like if they would, I guess you want to call it like, do a little outburst or something, just to calm them down, talk to them, and just to keep them calm.
So your job was to calm kids, behavioral kids down.
Basically,
get their-
yes. Mhm. Yes.
And I'm sorry, sometimes I'm talking and you're talking and the court reporter's gonna yell at me if I do that, so. And so was that a full-time job?
Yes, yes.
When did your day start?
At Robb,
Yes.
like in the morning, or are you talking about the year?
Well, I was talking about the mornings,
The morning, my time was from 7 in the morning till 3:30.
7 in the morning till 3:30.
Yes.
And where did you report at 7:30?
At 7, I would go into the office to clock in.
And after you clocked in, what did you do?
Then I would go set my stuff in the classroom and wait out there. Well, not wait, but to do the duty that I needed to do.
So before school started, you would do bus duty
Because I had to wait for some of the students.
for your kids specifically?
Right, yes.
And how many kids did you take care of?
At that time, it was 3, actually. You had to wait for 3 of them to get off the bus. There was 2 and 1, and then the other one was later on, a couple of minutes after, yes.
So 2 buses, but you ended up with 3 children?
Yes. Mhm.
And what did you do with the children?
And then I would, of course, take them, if they needed to go to eat breakfast and stuff, I would take them, and then we'd report to the room, to the classroom.
Okay. And now I'll direct your attention to May 24, 2022. You were working that day?
Yes, I was.
And did you go through the same procedure early in the morning that you just described to the jury?
Yes.
And did the kids go to the cafeteria then?
At that day, like I said, I was waiting for one of them to take them, but he didn't show up that day. But we did take the other students, yes.
And so that morning, how many students did you have?
2 that got off the bus, but in the classroom we had about 4 or 5 that day.
That you were not responsible for taking off the bus, the other 2 or 3?
I was, but they, like I said, one of them didn't show up for that day.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. What did y'all do that morning?
That morning we're just in the classroom, keeping them busy with activities and stuff like that before it was our time to report to the cafeteria for their awards.
So they had an awards day?
Yes.
And what time was the awards day?
I don't remember exactly what time. It was our turn to go to report to the cafeteria.
And how long did you stay at awards day?
We were done, and then we just waited there for a couple of more minutes, and we saw the other teachers with the classrooms, and while they were presenting their awards to them, I want to say maybe like, I don't know, 20, 30 minutes, I guess.
I'm sorry, say that again?
Like 20 to 30 minutes that we stayed there, so they...
Okay. And are we in mid-morning now?
Yes, just...
And then after the awards were presented, what did you and the class do?
Like I said, we waited there for a couple of minutes, and then our teacher said we're ready to take the students back to the classroom. So that's what we did.
And what age were these students?
We had 3rd and 4th graders at that time.
Okay. And did you get back to the classroom?
Yes, we did. We did.
And what happened next?
We were there, and and it was like almost time for them to have their lunch, where we had somebody bring their lunches to the classroom because they eat in the classroom.
Okay. Do all students have the option then of having their lunches brought to them in the classroom?
Yes.
Okay. And so what did you do in regard to lunch?
What I did is, we were there, and of course we had the TV on, that's cartoons, music and stuff for them, and they were eating, and of course they were watching TV and stuff. And the teacher already was already eating her lunch, and I said, well, I'm gonna go ahead and warm up my lunch. And that's what I did.
So you were eating your lunch as the children were eating their lunch?
Right, just about, yes, because I was just barely warming up my lunch.
And did anything disturb your lunch?
Yes, it did.
And what was that?
I had the school radio, which I carry with me.
Let me stop you there then. Tell me about the school radio.
It's a radio that I carry where we can communicate.
And who can you communicate with?
Excuse me?
Who do you communicate with?
Whoever calls in, whoever calls me, or I need to call somebody.
Is it just for that school, just for
Yes,
Robb
just
School?
for that, yes.
Okay. And is it just adults or is it kids too?
No, it's just for the employees only.
And you keep that radio with you?
Yes.
And you got a call on the radio?
Oh, I didn't actually get a call. There was a call, and we didn't understand what they had said, because the teacher said, what did she say? I said, I have no idea, because I don't know, I couldn't understand. And then
So the first communication, you couldn't understand
No.
what was being said?
No. And then the second time it called in, they said that there was a shooter, and he was jumping the fence and had a gun.
Do y'all have a fence around Robb School?
Yes, we do.
And could you describe that fence?
It's chain link, I think that's what you call it. It's all around the perimeter of the school.
Okay. And what were the words that you heard?
When we kind of understood, they said that he's jumping over the fence, he's shooting, he has a gun.
So a man jumping over the fence, shooting, and has a gun.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what did you do when you heard those words?
When I heard that, I just got the radio, clipped it back where I would clip it at, and I just ran outside. And as I'm running outside, one of the coaches was running this direction, getting the other students and teachers, I guess, in. I don't know what they were doing or what they were at. So I run the opposite direction and run down a sidewalk where some fourth grade students and teachers were coming out from that door, from that building.
Let me stop you for a second. What is a lockdown?
A lockdown is where you get all the students in, make sure your doors are locked, lights are off, quiet.
And what causes lockdowns?
I want to say, I don't know, like high-speed chase, bailouts and things like that.
Would an indication that there was a shooter, somebody that jumped the fence and was shooting, would that cause a lockdown?
Yes, definitely, yes.
So normally you would stay inside and lock the doors?
Yes.
Tell us why you didn't do that.
Because I knew the schedule that we had, and we already knew who was outside at that time and who wasn't, and things like that.
And who would be outside at that time?
Some of the students with some of the teachers either having recess or just coming out from lunch or before lunch in the playground.
So it was your understanding of the schedule that caused you to go outside?
Because what they had said, what was said on the radio.
And what was the schedule for people being outside at that time?
What was it, like I said, it was someone were going out to recess, or someone going to lunch, or someone coming out from lunch.
And so that was your concern?
At that time, yes, because if there was kids outside, like I said, there were some of the classrooms and teachers were coming out from that fourth grade building door, and that's when, because that's when I heard that. Well, of course, we had to take precautions with that and stuff. And as I was running over there, I was telling them to get back in, and they were like, it's kind of confused for me telling them to go back in.
Who were you telling to go back in?
The classroom, the fourth grade classrooms that were coming out with some of the teachers.
And where on the fourth grade classroom were you?
I was running down the sidewalk, going to that building, to the fourth grade building. Because I was actually in my classroom at that time.
And the north side, or the south side, or the east side, or the west side?
It was on the south, on the side of where the pavilion, where they have PE, that building, there's that door. They come out from there.
The announcement to you had been that there was a shooter?
Yes.
But wouldn't that pose a threat to you?
Right, but I wanted to make sure that the kids were in and safe.
And so you ran to the south side?
Yes, and
were there kids out?
They were coming out, yes, and then I believe
Coming
there's
out of where, ma'am?
the fourth grade building door.
Okay.
And I kept telling them to go back, and they were confused, like, why? And I guess there's fire shots, and that's when they ran back in to the building.
And where were you when you were telling the children to go back in?
Like I said, I was running down the sidewalk, and when we all heard that, they went in, and I kept running to make sure once they all went in, I wanted to make sure that door was locked.
Okay. And so as you were running down this toward the fourth grade, did all the children get back inside?
Yes, yes.
Did you leave until all the children got back inside?
I didn't make it to the door to see if it was locked or not.
So you were headed to the south door for the purpose of locking it?
Or making sure it was locked.
And why did you want the door locked?
So nobody would go in, whoever was there.
But you didn't make it to the south door?
No, I didn't.
Tell us why.
Because there's right there an area in the corner where the ACs are at, and it's fenced up. And that's when I saw the shooter right there.
Had you seen him before that period?
No, I didn't, no. It was
You
just
just
that
seen
time
the
when I
kids?
saw him.
And so it was right by the ACs?
Yes, right in the corner, that's where.
Describe what you saw.
like I said, I didn't make it to the door because that's when I saw him. He was wearing all black and a hoodie, and then the hoodie just fell off him, and it had curly that kind of shoulder length there. And that's when he started shooting at me.
And he was wearing all black?
Mm-hmm.
And how did you know he was shooting at you?
Because he just stood there and lifted up this rifle as I started running back.
At one point, did you think it was a handgun?
I thought it was, at one point, yes.
Okay, but this is, a lot of media has passed since then, is that correct?
Yes.
But at the time, that's mainly what we want to know about, is at the time that you observed it as opposed to other influences, okay?
Mm-hmm.
So at the time, you thought it was what?
I thought it was just a regular handgun or something.
And why did you think he was shooting at you?
I mean, because I was running and he just kept shooting, and when I looked back, all I could see was that he was still standing there. And all I could see was just the fire coming out of the barrel.
Okay. Now, when you saw him, what did you do specifically?
I just ran. I ran away from him.
And did you take a pattern as you ran?
I did. I was running, and
Excuse me?
I was running, and then I looked back. Like I said, that's when he was still standing there and was shooting, and I could see the fire from the barrel. And then all of a sudden, I ended up on the ground. I was on the ground.
You fell down?
Mm-hmm.
Let me stop for a second. I never asked you, do you recall what you were wearing that day?
I want to say some khaki slacks with the orange peach colored shirt.
Okay. And you fell down?
Yes, I did.
And what did you think when you fell down?
I thought he had shot me.
Just because of the circumstances that
Yeah.
occurred. Had you been shot?
Have I?
Had you been shot?
No, I wasn't.
Okay. And how long did you stay on the ground?
I want to say just a couple of seconds because I was like, I need to make sure, these kids are in to, to make sure these kids, I take them in somewhere for them to be safe.
So you got up immediately?
Mm-hmm.
And what happened when you got up?
When I got up, I seen this vehicle drive right up to me, and I was telling
Describe
him.
the vehicle?
It's a white vehicle. I know it was a PD vehicle, but it didn't have, all the, I guess you want to call this logos on there or something. It was just a plain vehicle, white vehicle.
And when you got up, where was the vehicle?
It was like kind of like almost parked
It
next
was
to
almost parked? And then
where I was at on the ground.
And what happened then?
That's when I said that he was heading into the fourth grade building, and we needed to stop him. We needed to go in and stop him before he went in.
Who did you say that to?
It was a PD. I can't recall.
You didn't know him or be able to
I
identify him?
really didn't know who.
And what did you say to him?
I told him that he needed to get stopped before he went into the fourth grade building, and we needed just to stop him.
And what did he say?
He didn't nothing. Cause
Did you say it more than once?
I did
What did you say the second time?
the same thing. But
Which was what?
we need to go in and we need to stop him. He needs to be stopped before he goes into the fourth grade building.
Did you tell him what he was wearing?
No, I didn't. No.
Did you tell him where he was?
I think I told him he's right there running in. He's in the corner. He's running in to the fourth grade building.
And did you use any arm gestures to point out where he was?
I did.
Tell us about that.
I just kept pointing. He's going in there. He's going to the fourth grade building.
And how many times did you say that?
I want to say a couple of times.
And did you hear anything from this gunman while you were talking to the police officer?
To the gunman, the shooter,
Uh-huh.
I just kept hearing shots.
You heard gunshots?
Yes.
Where were they coming from?
That's where he was going into the fourth grade area.
That south area?
Yes.
Could you see the gunman at that time?
No, I couldn't. No.
But you heard where the gunshots were coming
Yes.
from? And when you heard the gunshots, what reaction did that have with you?
Like I said, I just had to make sure that everybody was in, the kids, and as I'm getting up and trying to find a place, I see a teacher, a second grade teacher. I'm not sure exactly what she was doing. I don't know if she was the last one in or she was opening, I don't know. So when I went over there, she told me if I wanted to go in. I said no, because I need to make sure your door's locked. And so.
Let me just stop. I think you're getting a little ahead of
Oh,
it at this time. How long had you been talking to the police officer when you heard the continued gunshots at the south end?
Couple of seconds,
Just a second or two.
maybe 3 to 5.
And how many shots did you hear?
Couple.
Okay. And when you heard the shots, did that cause a reaction from you? Did you say anything to the officer?
Like I said, I kept telling him that he needed to be stopped. He was going before he goes into the fourth grade building.
And while you were talking to the officer, did anything on the east side of that fourth grade wing catch your attention?
The east side is you talking about
The side that, yes ma'am, that you were on.
It was just shots.
There were more shots? Did you see the window break?
I did not.
Excuse me?
I didn't.
Okay.
I could not see where I was at. I could not see it from the other side, but I could just hear
Okay, you
the
couldn't
shots.
see the west side?
Right.
And then the other side, the east side, did you ever see any of those windows break?
Not that I recall, no.
Okay. When you told the officer to go in, did he go in?
No.
What did he do?
Is he just stayed there? Because, like I said, that's when I ran to see if everybody else was in and find a place.
He just stayed there?
I believe so.
And about how many times did you urge him to go in and do something?
Like I said, it was a couple of times.
A couple, does that mean twice?
2 or 3 times.
2 or 3 times? Okay. Then what did you do?
And that's when, like I said, I got up and I saw the second grade teacher on her door to the classroom, and she asked me if I wanted to go in, and I said, no, I need to make sure your door's locked. and it was locked. And I went in, and when I went in, she already had the kids in the corner covered with her bookshelves, to protect them, and her phone was ringing, and her blinds were still up. And I said, you need to put your phone on silent or turn it off, and we need to put the blinds down and close them. So I guess while she was doing that, I'm not too sure, like I said, I put the blinds down and closed them up.
And where were you when this happened?
What do you mean? I was in,
What room?
I don't remember the room number, but it was a second grade teacher classroom.
While you were in the room, what happened?
And then I started looking around. I gathered some papers from different desks that were there and taped them up and taped them to the door window. And then I put a chair on the door handle, which I guess I didn't do it right because it fell. And just telling the kids for them to stay quiet. I wasn't gonna let nobody.
Excuse me?
I wasn't gonna let nobody hurt them.
Did the kids stay quiet?
Yes, but you can still hear them when they were like crying and stuff.
And where were the kids?
They were in that classroom. They were, as soon as we walk in, they were on the left side with the bookshelves around them.
And is that how they've been trained?
Yes.
And while you were in the room, did you hear anything else from the gunman?
Or nothing but shots.
You continued hearing shots? Could you describe how many?
I just kept shooting and shooting.
And you could hear that where you were?
Oh, yes.
How long were you in the room?
That day for me was like fast forward, slow motion day for me. I don't know.
While you were in the room, did you consider, what were you considering or thinking or planning? Did you do anything like that while you were in the room?
I was just like, I mean, what can I do if it, if he doesn't come here, or, and I did grab some scissors that were there. I said, I can protect not only myself, but the kids if he does or comes in here or something.
Scissors are about all teachers or kids had in the room?
There was the teacher's scissors.
They were teachers'
Mhm.
scissors? And any other planning?
Would you?
Did you do any other thinking about what we had?
That's about it. I mean,
Okay. Fair enough. How long were you in the room about?
it was a while. I don't remember because, like I said, it was a while.
And how did you leave the room?
I guess whoever was going by classroom in that area was knocking on the door, and which we got a knock, and I was trying to tell the second grade teacher not to open the door because at that time they didn't say who it was or anything like that. But she went ahead and opened the door, but it was law enforcement.
Okay. And what did law enforcement do?
They said that if we're okay and stuff, and they were there, but for us to wait because they were still gonna go down the hallway classrooms, and then they will be back for us to.
And did they come back for you?
Yes, they did.
How much later did they come back for you?
It didn't take them that long until they finished going down the classrooms down that hallway.
And when they came back, what happened?
When they came back, they said for them to hold their hands together and go behind each other and follow them. To go behind each other and hold hands and to follow them.
And did the kids do as they were told?
Yes.
And where did y'all go?
They took us down like 2-3 blocks down the street away from the school.
And then what happened?
And we just waited there.
Until when?
Until they brought buses or whatever vehicles they could get to pick us up.
And you were taken where?
We were taken to the Civic Center at that time.
Is that where the children were reunited with their family?
Right, yes.
And Ms. Flores, you're familiar with that grounds and those areas that you just described for the jury?
Yes.
And have you been out with personnel from the DA's office to pinpoint the things you saw and where you were, where the
Yes.
gunman was, as well as where the officer was?
Yes.
And were photographs taken during that time?
I'm not sure.
You didn't take any photographs?
No, I don't think so.
May I approach that?
Yes, sir.
Showing you exhibits 921 through 924. Do you recognize this area?
Yes.
And 922?
Yes.
And 923?
Mm-hmm.
And 924?
Yes.
Is that a fair and accurate representation, finally, at 924, where the cones are placed by your direction? Is that correct?
Yes.
State offers 921 through 924.
No objection, Your Honor.
Permitted.
And David, please explain.
Yes, sir.
Ms. Flores, these are going to be displayed and they're going to be shown back on that TV to your right, so that we don't stand in front of the jury and use that pointing monkey. Okay. Starting with State's Exhibit 921. Can you tell us when you got that first radio communication, where you would have been?
I would have been in that area over there. That's the classroom.
If you need to stand up to get close to it.
I was in this area right here. That's where my classroom was at.
And you're talking about the second building from the bottom.
Yes.
And was that your classroom?
Yes.
And when you heard the communication, you didn't understand that communication, but you heard a second one?
Yes, I did.
And tell me about that one.
They just said he's jumping over the fence. He's got a gun. He's shooting.
And where is the fence?
This is way over here.
Okay. So you get a communication and the gunman is jumping over the fence shooting. And where do you go?
I just started coming out, and I start running over here, this direction, because this is where some of the fourth grade students and teachers was me out. And I'm running, and I'm telling them to go back in, and that's when they're gunshot. And I just made it just so like.
Okay,
right
let me stop you for just a second. So you ran in the direction where you believe the gunman was jumping the fence?
I didn't really know what direction or who this person was, and so I saw him right here in the school.
Okay, so you didn't know where he was. All you had was information that somebody has jumped a fence and they're shooting.
Yes.
You didn't know where they were,
No.
but you acted.
You're right.
And you acted for what purpose?
To be safe.
To save who?
Everybody, the students, everybody.
And what, did you see students?
I saw what they were coming out of this building right here.
And how far out did they get?
I guess they got just about right there.
So they hadn't yet gotten to the green area.
Not these.
And where are you? At this point, you see the kids?
Yes, I was like right here, telling them, yelling at them for them to get back. And that's when they heard gunshots, and that's when they went back. And I guess I just made it to right here while the gunman comes out right here.
Okay, about how many kids were outside?
Outside, out here. I don't remember.
Fair enough. And is there a recess area?
Yes, the recess area is over here in the pavilion pew area, and I guess it's in this area. Some recess.
So there's several recess areas?
Not several, but there's many. They say that there's too many in the playground area. Some just stay on this area right here.
Okay. And so you don't see the gunman when you see the children,
No, I don't. I just hear the shots.
but when the children get in, you have an intention?
Yeah, that's when he's right here, comes out right here.
And you're talking about at the southwest corner?
Yes.
And when you see him, you also saw the gun?
Yes.
So you didn't stay long?
I know.
What did you do when you saw the gun?
I stopped there, so like I said, I saw him right here, and I just ran this direction right here.
And show me again, a little more slowly, the direction. Okay. And then at the bottom of that photograph, there is just a small white corner. Can you see that? Is there another building there?
Was it this one right here?
Yes. That's the last building on the campus as far as south, is that correct?
Right.
Okay. But that's the direction in general that you were running?
Yes.
And when you turned to run then, I suppose you weren't watching the gunman?
Not until I said, well, let me see if he's running behind me, you know, and that's when I looked back to see if he was still there or not. But he was still right here.
Okay. And where did you fall?
I felt somewhere around this area right here.
And can you describe what vehicle that is that's on the photograph?
That's one of the.
Excuse me?
That's a PD vehicle.
Is that the place that the PD vehicle parked?
It was a different one.
Excuse me?
It was a different vehicle.
You think it was different? How was it different?
Because it didn't have, I guess, the logos on there. It was just a plain white four-door car.
So you don't remember any logos?
No.
From that, you believe it was a different vehicle. Was there more than one vehicle that arrived, police vehicle that arrived while you were there?
That was the only one.
Okay.
The one I saw. 'Cause
And,
that's when I ran in to this area right here.
Okay,
Went
but
into the
before you
cash-
ran in, did you have a conversation? Did you talk to the officer?
I didn't talk to anybody. I was just telling them,
What were you telling him?
like, we need to go in. He needs to be stopped.
And where was he?
He was, like I said, there was the other vehicle was here, and he was just, I don't know exactly what he was doing, but he was just like running back and forth.
Pacing back and forth?
Yes.
As you were telling him to go in?
Yeah.
And you pointed to where he was?
Yes.
And then where did you go?
Like I said, I believe this is a second grade building, and I went into one of these second grade classrooms.
Thank you. You can sit back down. Showing you State's Exhibit 922. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
I believe it was that vehicle.
Excuse me?
I believe it was that vehicle that I saw when.
Okay, so now we see two vehicles, and you believe it was that one?
Yes.
And on the first vehicle, is there markings that you can see there?
No.
Would you approach it?
What do you?
Would you just get closer to it to see if you can say what's on the side?
On what side are you right?
I'm sorry, may I approach it?
Yes, sir.
Ms. Flores, I'm just asking you, does this say police?
Yes, it does.
And Uvalde CISD? Thank you. In State's Exhibit 923, is this the time that you went out to show us where you were?
Yes.
And would you point out how far down you got as you were helping the kids?
So just by where the cone's at, this area right here.
And is there a second cone there?
Yes.
What is that?
That's kind of where the gunman comes out.
And State's Exhibit 924. Do you see that first cone still at where you were when
Yes.
you were telling the
Mhm.
kids? And did you show us the direction of the path that you ran?
I believe it was somewhere right in here, this area.
So from that farthest cone, you ran to the second cone. Would you point out which cone?
Somewhere right here.
And then the third cone?
I fell in somewhere in this area. That's
Is
where I
that
ended
where
up
you
on the
fell?
ground. That's where I kind of ended at on the ground.
And where was the police car?
Still somewhere right over here.
And does that fourth cone indicate where the officer was?
Talking about this one right
Yes.
here? Yes, still.
Thank you. Sit down. Ms. Flores, when this happened to you, did you talk to your family?
At that time when I was in the classroom, I did. I called one of my brothers
And why did you call your brother?
to let him know what was going on.
And did you find out what was going on?
Yes, there was
And
a
what-
shooting going on.
Excuse me?
There was a shooting going on. There was a shooter on the campus.
And did your brother have any advice for you?
I told him what was going on and what happened. He just said for me to hide and to check myself if I was shot or not.
Did you eventually go to the police with this information?
To the police.
Did you give a statement to the police about what you just told the jury?
I know, because I left out of town, and when I had told him that I wanted to come back when the funeral services started. So I did. I came the day before, and then I had a report to the Fairplex.
To who?
I had a report to the Fairplex, but I didn't make any reports to that's the PD as you're talking about.
Uh-huh. Did you eventually give a statement to police officers?
It was when I got there at the Fairplex. It was Texas Ranger.
Oh, a Texas Ranger. Okay. Thank you. And how is it that you got with the Texas Ranger?
Because I went in there and I had some people there. I don't know. They were like counselors and stuff like that, and that's when they told me that Texas Rangers need to speak to one of them or something. I really don't know exactly how it all started there. I eventually ended up talking to a Texas Ranger.
But you just remember talking to them?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Pass the witness.
May I proceed, Judge?
Please.
Good morning, Ms. Flores.
Good morning.
My name is Nico LaHood. I'm one of the lawyers that represents Adrian. I'm assuming you've never testified before?
No, never.
Okay. You a little nervous?
Yeah.
And it's emotional. So there's no gotchas here. I'm gonna ask you some questions.
Okay.
And I may ask you questions about what you perceived or what you remembered.
Mhm.
And it's not that I'm questioning your character, but we're going to be, I may be questioning your perception or your memory, okay?
Okay.
But just don't think that as a personal attack.
Okay.
It's going to be just observational questions, okay? If you don't understand my questions, you ask me to repeat them and I will.
Okay.
And if we need to go slow, we need to stop, I'll do that, okay? And for the court reporter, you have to say yes, or you have to say a word because she's typing it down.
Okay.
Okay. So you were, it seems like for Robb Elementary and for Beeville currently, you are a special education aide.
Yes.
I'm going to take a side note here. I'm a daddy of a special needs son, so I appreciate what you and all professionals like you do.
Thank you.
There's no doubt in my mind you're a special type of woman. You've been doing that for 23 years, 25 years?
Yes, sir.
That is a unique type of teacher, so my wife and I thank you, okay?
Thank you.
Because you talked, and I knew that because I'm sure you're involved in ARD meetings, right? Those assessments.
At one point I was. But
Okay, and that's part of your duties,
yes.
dealing with special
Yeah.
needs kids. But you described outbursts, and you have to deal with outbursts, and,
Yes.
and as a daddy of a son on the spectrum, it's a meltdown. They have a sensory overload, and
Right.
it can be intense.
Yes.
And so it takes a lot of patience, and thank you for that. So I want to direct your attention to May 24th, 2022. We're going to get into this. And you testified that everything started the way it normally does for you, and you went
Yes.
through the procedures with the government. At some point, you were eating lunch, and you described where that was, and you heard on the radio something, but you didn't understand what it was.
At first, right, correct.
And then it came in again, and it's a shooter jumped a fence, has a gun, something of that nature.
Yes,
And you responded, right? You left the building and you wanted to make sure that the kids were not outside.
right,
Because the initial report, and you had not seen anything, was that there was someone that jumped that fence, and you know where that perimeter fence is.
yes,
And you didn't know what direction they were going, but you were just rather be safe than sorry, and you went outside.
yes, that's correct.
So you get outside, and your instincts were correct. There were some children that were trying to come out of that south end of the fourth grade building.
Yes,
Now, you had already seen, because you could see the playground, there were no kids in the playground, thankfully.
right,
Right, so there were no kids on the playground. You were focused, when you got out there, you were focused on those children
Yes.
coming out of the building.
Mhm.
And can I have states, government's exhibit, was it 920, 922? 924. I'm gonna walk beside you, okay, Ms.
Oh.
Flores? Thank you. And so you come out here, you can scan this area and you can see that thankfully there's no kids out here.
right,
Right? And so you turn and you see children coming out of here and you tell them to get back.
yes,
Okay. And so, and that's your focus, and you don't see any children over here, correct?
correct,
Like, or over here?
right,
Okay, just at that building. And they were confused, but they listened to you and they went back.
right.
I don't recall, at that time, had you yourself heard any gunfire?
As I was telling the kids to go back in, like I said, that's when we heard, and that's when they kind of like started running back in to
Right.
the, yes,
But at that time, you hadn't heard gunfire yet. You told them to go in.
Right.
Right. So there were no shots while the children were exiting. Thankfully,
Right.
you got them in
Yes.
before. But then I think you testified. I want to make sure I get it right. So please correct me if I
Okay.
don't. Well, before I get to what actually happened in your experience there, the government asked you about lockdowns. The jury's heard a lot about lockdowns, but one of the things you said is a major part of the lockdown is you have to make sure the doors are locked. You remember
yes,
saying that?
yes.
Why is that so important in a lockdown?
Just make sure nobody's gonna go in.
And so those doors are really the only barrier between anyone with bad intentions and the teacher and the children inside, right? And so we've heard about the procedures of turning the lights off and hiding and getting away from windows and turning off your phones. But the main barrier of protection are those doors, right?
Right,
And you would agree that there was a policy that all doors at the school needed to be locked
yes,
at all times.
right,
And I won't belabor this with you, the jury's heard about teachers having keys and other teachers using magnets and that magnet system or whatever. But the school policy was for the external doors to be locked and the internal doors to be locked, correct?
correct.
And something caught my attention when you mentioned lockdowns. I think that Mr. Turner asked you, what is the purpose of lockdowns? What is it to protect you from? And your two things you said were high-speed chases and bailouts, right?
Yes,
Because that's, in that community, that's, you correlate lockdowns to high-speed chases and bailouts, right?
yes,
Because thankfully, there had never been a school shooting before, right?
right,
And so lockdowns in the community's mind was for that because there was a lot of bailouts at that time, right?
yes, there was, yes,
I mean, a lot, right?
yes,
And so now I want to direct your attention about your engagement here, or what you testified about the shooter. Put your back up. Start with that, thank you. So you testified that, I I think you pointed it out on one of the other ones, and we'll get there. The shooter was somewhere out here. When he shot at you, you can stand
No,
up if you need to.
He comes out and right here to this point, right here.
Is it fair to say, and I want to put words in your mouth, are you saying that he kind of stood on this sidewalk here?
Yes.
Okay. And these shots towards you, are these the first shots that you had heard?
Towards me?
Well, just in general, because you hadn't seen shots before. Thankfully, when the kids weren't there, the kids go back inside. I guess you're coming back here, you're saying to the jury that you see the shooter come out to here, and then that's when he starts shooting at you.
Right.
And where were you when he started shooting at you, that you recall, if you can recall?
I was just running.
Like, do you remember if you were kind of near the, I mean, obviously this vehicle wasn't there yet, but you were somewhere here maybe?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
About, yes.
And do you recall how many times he was shooting at you? Because I think you said more than one time he just kept shooting and shooting and shooting.
I want to say maybe 3 or 6.
So
I don't recall exactly, but
okay.
there were.
Okay. And then you fall down, correct, at some point? Because you look back. And then, but then the shooter doesn't shoot you when you fall down?
No.
Okay.
That's when he started running.
Yes, ma'am. He started running? Okay. You know now that the shooter shot up this whole side of the school before he entered, right?
Yes.
Are you aware, and I'm just asking you, are you aware that there are no spent casings? You know what a spent casing is?
After you finish.
Yes, ma'am. After you shoot and the projectile goes out, a semi-automatic weapon will get to dispel that casing. Are you aware now that there were no casings found over here?
I didn't know that.
Okay. Are you aware, and if you're not, you're not, are you aware that there is no evidence of shooting, they call them defects, that they're shooting on in that direction? Are you aware that there are no?
No.
Okay.
Objection is a misstatement of the law, of the facts. If there's a defect in building 24, we put on a number of pictures of it.
Yeah, at the lower level, Judge, and I recognize that one up top.
Okay, once again, ladies and gentlemen, if it conflicts with your memory of the evidence, rely on your own. You may proceed.
And look, I'm not ragging on you, I'm not, because there's a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot, there are multiple people, even police officers up here that thought they were getting shot at. I'm just saying, I was just asking, are you aware that there are no shells, that's all, and you're not aware of that.
Right.
So now, I want to make sure the timing's right. Because I wasn't sure, because the way you testified, it made it sound like that this happened right behind each other. So the shooter is here shooting at you, you fall, he doesn't keep shooting, he runs over here, and then the police officer drives up here.
Correct.
That kind of happens simultaneously?
Yes.
And the shooter did not try to shoot at the police officer?
No, because I guess he just kept running.
Okay, he kept running.
Yeah.
And so then that's when this officer parked right there. And you were on the ground still, or had you gotten up at the time?
That was not the vehicle, though.
If I had to represent to you, and the government won't contest me, that is the vehicle, but that, again, that's just your perception. In your mind, you perceived it, that there were no markings on that vehicle, correct?
Right.
We'll stipulate to that, Your Honor.
Thank you, Bill. And so stipulate means they agree. And let me tell you something. You went through a hellacious experience. There is something called perception distortion. Have you heard about that?
No.
Okay. Where stress. Have you heard of PTSD?
Yes.
Post-traumatic stress? That has a very serious and real effect on people. And that's why we're asking you these questions. This is not an attack on your character. Do you understand that?
Yes.
I promise you that. So this is the vehicle that was there, but at the time you thought that it didn't have any logos and you were sure of it, right? Even to right now, correct?
Yes.
Okay. You want to take a moment?
No.
Okay.
Good.
Excuse me, I'm going to pass you up. And so may I have permission to ask you about some of your other perceptions?
Okay.
Okay. You initially described the officer as wearing khaki pants, correct?
Yes.
a white shirt.
I believe it was white, like a bluish.
Well, no, you said white. Remember, you've spoken to a Texas
Right,
Ranger?
yes, it was,
Right.
yes, I did say, yes.
Okay. You spoke to, well, this for clarity, you've spoken to a Texas Ranger and you spoke to Mr. Rick Garza with the DA's office here, right? This gentleman
Yes,
behind,
yes.
to my right? Okay. And so you described that officer in that vehicle as having khaki pants, correct?
Yes,
A white shirt, correct?
yes,
Short sleeve white shirt,
yes.
right? And a full beard.
It wasn't a full, no.
But that's what you had spoken.
But that's, okay, yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
You had said that to Mr. Garza and then Ranger Pettis previously, correct?
Right,
Okay. And so if I represent to you that Mr. Gonzales had a dark uniform on, no white shirt, no shirt sleeves, and no khaki pants, and did not have a beard, that's kind of an example of your perception, right?
Right.
In your mind, that's what you saw, right?
yes,
Okay. And so the officer gets out, and at the time you didn't know it was Mr. Gonzales, right? You didn't know it was Adrian.
no, I didn't, really, no.
But that officer, I believe the government asked you, you testified that he just was kind of pacing back and forth?
Yes, he was.
And that's your perception of what he was
Mhm.
doing? Is it fair to say that, I mean, I can see it's emotional now, but at the time, because this was real time, that you were frantic? You were extremely excited at the time.
Excited as,
This was traumatic experience.
yeah,
Right? I mean,
Yes.
so you're running out, you get this call, your instincts were correct because you know the school. You have an absolute love for children. I know that, it's obvious to me. And so you go out there to warn children to go back in.
Yes.
You're yelling at them, because I think you're yelling at them to get inside. And then you see this shooter, whether he shot at you or not, I believe you saw him.
mhm,
And then you fall because you're running, because at the very least you perceive that he's shooting at you. And then you fall, so you think, I believe you told investigators, he got me now, he's gonna get me, right?
right,
Matter of fact, you initially told them that you thought he shot you,
yes,
but he had not shot you, thankfully.
right,
Okay. But you thought he did.
yes,
And so, that's all I'm trying to say. I'm trying to set this tone. There's a lot going on in your mind at that time, right?
yes,
Okay. And so you perceived Mr. Gonzales as, you didn't know it was him at the time, as pacing, right?
right,
But he was getting out. He's assessing you because you're yelling things at him, right?
yes,
You're saying he's over there, correct?
mhm,
You're with Adrian for somewhere between 2 to 7 minutes, right?
right,
But that, you've said that to Mr. Garza before, right? You said that you were with Adrian and you gave yourself a range. You were with him in that scene for anywhere as low as 2
I didn't
minutes?
recognize the PD that was there.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear that. What did you say?
I didn't recognize the PD officer that was there, that was telling that to.
When I mean Adrian, I'm talking about the PD officer.
Okay,
Let me represent to you that Adrian Gonzales, sitting to our left, is the officer that drove that vehicle with the logos on it, okay? And he's
Okay.
the officer that you were dealing with. So if I say Adrian, I'm sorry, I mean Mr. Gonzales, the PD officer, okay?
okay,
So you're yelling at him instructions, but he's getting out. At some point, there are gunfire, right? At some point, there's
Yes.
gunfire. Do you recall the PD officer, I'll just say PD officer, do you recall the PD officer radio in and saying shots fired, shots fired?
I don't recall it.
Okay. But if that's on dispatch, that dispatch will be the best evidence for that. Do you recall at some point after getting instruction from you and you're yelling at him and he's ducking, do you remember him moving around the vehicle to get behind it for cover? You didn't know it was cover, but do you remember him getting behind the vehicle?
I know I would see him, see that PD, pacing back and forth.
Yes, ma'am. So you're pacing back and forth. Could that be that he was going behind the vehicle to get behind it for cover?
I'm sure.
Okay. Do you recall hearing him say, west side of the building, supposed to be wearing black?
No, I don't.
But when you're talking and yelling at the PD officer, you're pointing to the south side of the building.
Correct.
And look, and it makes sense, Ms. Flores, because those children were coming out of the south side of the building. You have tunnel vision on the south side of the building, right?
Yes.
And so you're focused on that south side of the building, and you're yelling at him, he's going in, but you're thinking south side of the building,
Yes.
right? You thought it so much, understandably, that you were under the impression that the shooter went in the south side of the building. Do you remember that?
No, he went around.
I know that, but at one point,
Right, at what, yes,
you thought he went in, remember?
yes.
Do you remember Ranger Pettis had to correct you because you kept asking, and he said, I can tell you for sure he did not go in the south side of the building, and you said, I thought he did.
Okay,
You
yes.
remember that from
Yes.
your 2 interviews? Okay. And just to give a little bit of context, I believe Mr. Turner was asking you this at the end. You didn't speak to police right away, right?
Right,
The first time you spoke to anybody was on May 31st,
that is correct.
and this incident happened on May 24th.
Right, because like I said, I left out of town with my family.
Yes, ma'am, understandably. But by that time, you had seen the news for 6 days, 7 days, right?
Yes, some of it, yes.
And you were honest. You told them about that in one of your interviews. That said, I viewed videos, and so you had been watching the news
Yes.
that time, and then you're this traumatic experience, and you're putting your memory together. So all that's going on when you're talking to them. Those 2 interviews, right?
Right,
Okay, understandable. So you're with this officer anywhere between 2 to 7 minutes, correct?
if that's the correct time, yes.
Well, that's what
The
you said
minutes.
to them. Do you remember
Okay.
saying that?
Okay, yes, yes.
Okay. And so there's a lot going on, right?
Yes,
Because at some point, there's multiple shots, right? And I have permission to walk up to you, the judge has given us that. You now know, and you knew then, that this person shot up all the way until he got into
I
the
could hear
west.
the
I'm going to object to that,
gunshots.
Your Honor, that's not the facts. It's
Okay, once
mistaken.
again, ladies and gentlemen, if it differs with your recollection, rely on your own. You may proceed.
Do you know that the shooter multiple times at the building? I don't know what the government's comfortable
I have
with,
no
but,
objection to multiple times the building, but he pointed all the way up the building. That's what I object to. That's not what.
well, the
facts
evidence will
are.
show what it shows.
Okay, overruled. You heard my admonishment, ladies and gentlemen. Let's proceed.
Thank you, Judge. So there were multiple shots at this building all the way up until this monster got into the building, right?
Yes.
You know that now.
Yes,
But when you were telling to the ranger, Pettis, and to Mr. Garza, you in your mind, you really thought that he had entered here.
yes, it's,
And so you're yelling at the officer, and you're telling him, you're saying he's on this side of the building, and you're pointing here because you really thought it was on the south side of the building. And so there's this dialogue back and forth between you and the officer for those 2 to 7 minutes, right?
yes,
Because there's a yelling, it's frantic. I mean, understandably, you thought you had been shot. You thought you were being shot at. You're yelling at him. You knew that you got children back in the building, but you thought he followed those kids in the building, right?
right.
At some point.
Yes, yes,
And then you explained that he's on the west side of the building, and you say he's on. So there's it's definitely not intentional, but there's kind of this south side, west side discussion going on between you and the officer, right? At some point in this
yes.
engagement. Is that a fair statement?
Yes, 'cause I really wasn't like really listening. I was just,
I know. And have you heard of something called auditory exclusion, where stress makes, you get tunnel vision visually, but then you can also exclude things auditorily because there's just so much stress going on. Right. And so there's just a lot going on, a lot of perception, you're communicating with the officer, and because you're really in your heart of hearts, and I don't think anybody doesn't believe you, and these children were in danger. But you had a specific perception of what entrance this man went in, right? Okay. And the officer is talking with you, he's communicating with you, and he's focused on you too, because did you tell him you thought you were shot?
I didn't tell him.
Okay.
No.
But you're on the ground,
Right,
And when you hit the ground, and I mean hit the ground meaning when you fell, do you agree that it created kind of like a dust?
Yes.
Because it's all dirt right there, right?
Right.
And so, and he drives up to you. That's where his car is. He drove all the way up to you, right?
Yes.
So even though there was if you don't know, maybe you know now, that there was a call of a person at the school with a gun, he didn't, obviously that vehicle is not parked on the corner. This officer in this vehicle drove into the trouble, right? He drove in, he acted, he drove to you. They didn't know it was you, but I mean, he drove to your area, right? Are you aware now there were 3 other officers over here?
I didn't. I couldn't see.
And you know now.
Okay. Yes.
But this officer isn't these officers, right? They stopped over
Right.
here. This officer made it over here, right?
Right.
At some point, after that 3 to 7 minutes, you described to the jury and the government asked you, you go to that classroom with Trevino, and you see that officer move up. He moves up at some point, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that? Kitty moves?
I'm not sure because, like I said, I was in the classroom doing what I that needed to be done.
And while you're talking to this officer, because there's that 2 to 7 minutes, there's actually shots being fired. You guys both can hear shots.
Right.
So he's hearing shots. You're talking to him. You're giving him instruction. I'm not going to put words in your mouth. You said he's pacing, but let me suggest he was taking cover, but he's talking to you. And shots are being fired throughout this whole time.
You have mischaracterization of her testimony.
She can correct me.
She said that he was pacing, not that he was taking cover.
Okay, once again, ladies and gentlemen, if it differs with your recollection, rely on your own, overruled, proceed.
No. I said that you said he was pacing. Do you remember me saying that?
Yes.
Okay. So and if I say something, you want to correct me, you can say, Nico, stop. I'm going to correct you. You can do that, okay?
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to direct your attention to State's Exhibit 922. Oh, there it is right there. So you see that second car?
Yes.
Do you recall telling Ranger Pettis and Mr. Garza that at some point when you went to the other classroom, Mr. Trevino, and you didn't say it exactly like that you saw this officer, whoever he was, move forward? Move forward. Do you remember saying that?
I don't remember saying that.
Okay, at some point when the jury's out, I can have you listen to your statement, okay? It's the audio, right?
Okay.
We'll stipulate to that, Your Honor.
Excuse me?
We'll stipulate. to
Okay,
that.
thank you, Bill. So the government has stipulated that at some point when you go to Mr. Trevino, you say to them, to the ranger and to Mr. Garza, that you saw the officer move forward, okay?
Okay.
Okay. And when the government showed you, when Mr. Turner showed you this picture, you said, no, that's the vehicle that you thought was here, right?
Right.
Because this one doesn't have any emblems,
Right.
right? So at some point, this officer moves forward to this officer, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. And you might not have known it was an officer at the time, but are you aware now that you described this officer, Officer Page? He was wearing khaki pants
Really?
and a white shirt, a whiter shirt. He didn't have a beard though. So all I'm saying is there's a lot going on in your mind, right?
Yes.
Okay. So at some point, after 2 to 5 minutes, there's gunfire, you're on the ground, you're yelling at this officer, he's going in here, the kid's in here, save the kids. At some point, and we can see, you can't see anything. You can't see the west side of the building from here, right?
Right.
And neither could the officer.
Right.
And so, this fence here around the AC unit?
Mm-hmm.
It's a chain link fence, right?
Right.
So you can see through it.
Mm-hmm.
So can you tell that part of this SUV is behind that chain link fence?
Yes.
Can you see it?
Yes.
It's behind there? But you can still see it, right?
Right.
So if an individual was standing there, you could still see an individual standing there, right? So if the shooter was standing there, you would be able to see the shooter from where you were at.
Right.
Right. I understand you perceived him to be out here, but if he was standing there, you could still see the shooter?
Yes.
Okay. I want to talk about another one of your perceptions, and I think that Mr. Turner tried to clear it up. At some point, you told Ranger Pettis and Mr. Garza that you believed the gunman had a handgun.
At some point, yes.
And then you when you told him that, you were sure about it. You were sure that it was a handgun, right?
Right.
And then either the ranger or Mr. Garza, I can't tell in the audio, corrected you and said it was a long rifle. It was not a handgun.
Right.
Right. And you correlated the handgun to a handgun that you carry sometimes, and so that's in your mind. That's
right.
what you correlated that to. And so, I want to clear one thing up also. You told the government, ultimately this jury, that when this officer showed up, you gave instructions and that he didn't say anything back to you.
No.
Oh, he did say something back to you?
No, he didn't. No.
But do you remember telling them that he said, which building? And
Okay, yes.
Yeah.
No, yes. He did say, that officer did say, where's the fourth grade building?
Right. So this officer didn't even know where the fourth grade building was, right?
Right.
Right. Well, at least that's how you perceived it. That's what he said. Because Robb Elementary, unfortunately, did not have a full-time officer there.
No, not that I know of.
Right. But he kept asking you which building. You said fourth grade building. Which building is that?
Right.
And then that's when the discussion about south entrance versus west entrance
Yes.
happened, right? And so all that is within that 2 to 7 minutes?
Yes.
Okay. Ms. Flores, thank you so much, and I want you to know that all my questions had nothing to do with your character. You have an outstanding character, okay? God bless
Thank
you.
you.
Pass the witness.
Regret?
Yes, ma'am, and when you said the fourth grade building, the officer said, which building?
Yes, he said, where's
Is that when you
where's the fourth
started
grade?
pointing?
Yes,
And where did you point?
to the fourth grade building.
And was the officer standing looking at you as you pointed to the fourth grade building?
At the, yes,
Y'all were having a discussion, he wanted to know where it was and you pointed it out,
yes,
but he stayed there.
yes.
I want to ask you about that short trip that you had down the walkway toward that south door, toward this door.
Mhm.
And show us about how far you got down toward that south door
Just about right, somewhere right here.
and where did you see the gunman?
He's standing right here.
Okay. Is there a little culvert just right here, a few steps behind that?
Yes, so it's part of the sidewalk
Okay.
going to the parking lot, fourth grade parking lot.
A culvert where a casing was located?
I'm not sure.
Okay. But the kids go inside the door,
Yes, back in there.
you're focused on them.
Yes.
When you see the man, how's he dressed?
He has the black jeans, the black hoodie, and the hoodie fell down from.
And black's a dark color.
Mhm.
And so if something black is in front of black, it would be a little bit more difficult to articulate what it was.
Yes.
And when you saw the man with what you perceived as a gun, whether handgun or rifle, you turned and ran.
Right.
And when you turned, that means you turned away from him.
Yes.
So you didn't see where he went.
When I was coming somewhere right here, that's when I looked back and he was still in this area here.
Okay. So he was kind of in this same area here.
Yes.
And is that why you thought he was going to the south door?
Right.
Okay. The police car is white, correct?
Yes.
You saw it.
Yes.
Was the gunman the position that he was facing? Was he in a position to see this white car drive
I believe
up?
that's when he like starts running this direction.
Sure. When he sees the white car, then you say you believe that's when he went that direction.
Yes.
Is that just your common sense, or did you see that?
That's what I saw.
Okay. And as far as auditory auditory exclusion, I believe Mr. LaHood said that an officer got on dispatch and said, shots fired, shots fired. You recall him asking you about that?
You talking about?
Mr.
Yes,
LaHood asked
yes.
you about that? And to get on a microphone and say shots fired, indicates either that he heard shots fired or you told him shots were fired. Is that correct?
We could hear shots fired.
Oh, you could hear shots fired?
Yes.
You weren't going through auditory exclusion?
That meaning, like,
I'm sorry.
I mean, at that time, I mean, you can hear the shots. And I don't know, I don't recall him
Okay.
or the
So
PD.
you clearly could hear the shots,
Yes.
and you didn't get on the police radio to say shots fired, shots fired?
No.
Okay. But whoever did was in a position to either hear the shots or you told him shots were being fired.
Right.
Did you tell him that shots were being fired?
Well, you can hear them. I
Didn't have to.
no.
Okay. That's what.
I hope you keep teaching special ed kids. I really
Thank
do.
you.
God bless you. No question, Judge.
Okay, recall either side.
Yeah,
No,
just
sir.
subject to recall. I don't want to belabor it, but we might have some follow-up with this, but.
Okay, so you want to recall.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, thank you.
May she
All right,
leave? May she go leave town and come back?
Yes, that's fine.
Yes.
Okay, ma'am, the rule's been invoked in this case, and all that means is, since you're subject to recall, you need to stay in touch with the DA's office in the event of a recall. We'll give you as much notice as possible, but more importantly, don't talk to anybody about the case other than the lawyers until you're aware the case is over with.
Okay.
All right? So thank you, you're excused today.
Thank you.
You'll call your next witness, please.
Cherie Hauptmeier, if I said that right.
You want to come up, ma'am? Raise your right hand, please. You do solemnly swear the evidence of the testimony given this cause due to yourself, you got.
Okay.
You have a seat right over here. Adjust that microphone, make it comfortable. Speak up so everybody can hear you, please. You may proceed.
Good morning.
Morning.
Would you tell the jury who you are?
Hi, my name is Dr. Cherie Hauptmeier. I'm from Uvalde.
And Dr. Hauptmeier, where do you work in Uvalde?
Currently, I work at Uvalde Medical Surgical Associates, which is an outpatient clinic that's adjoined to the hospital.
And when you say adjoined to the hospital, does that just mean you have a business relationship, or is it also physically adjoined to the hospital?
The building is right next to the main hospital. It's also owned by the hospital.
And tell us what your credentials are.
I'm a doctor of osteopathic medicine, which is essentially, there's allopathic and osteopathic. We do the, same training, but we do a little bit more in musculoskeletal.
In what?
Musculoskeletal.
Muscular and skeletal?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And when did you get your education?
I completed medical school in 2011, from 2007 to 2011.
And after medical school, what did you do?
Then I went to residency at Christus Santa Rosa in San Antonio, family medicine residency program.
How long is that residency program?
That was an additional 3 years.
And after the residency, then what?
And then I graduated in 2014, and I moved out to Uvalde and began working, and I've been there ever since.
Ever since 2014?
2014, yep.
And so, May 24, 2022, what were you doing on that day?
I was working at the time I was working at a different clinic, which was right down the road from the hospital. And we had just finished morning clinic, and we were in a meeting.
A meeting with other doctors?
Yes, with the staff at the clinic.
A business meeting?
Business meeting.
And about what time was this?
Started around 11:15.
Okay. And did you end up going to the hospital that day?
Yes, I did.
How did you end up at the hospital?
We had an alert that sent a mass text message to all the physicians saying that they needed us immediately in the emergency room.
When you say all physicians, I don't understand what the mass texting is. How did that work?
It was sent out by, I can't tell you I know the exact texting service or anything like that, but it's a messaging service that sends a text message to physicians, and basically was just asking them all to come immediately to the emergency room. That there was a trauma.
A need there?
An immediate need.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So you weren't actually in the hospital, but a text went out to all physicians to come?
Yes.
And did you go?
Yes.
And did other physicians go?
Yes.
And on that afternoon then, tell us how you spent your time.
I got there, I can't tell you exactly the time I got there, but I got there as soon as I could, and it was probably right around noon. And when I got there, I'm sorry, I don't quote me on that. I apologize. I don't know what time I got there. I got there as soon as I could. But when I got there, there were other doctors that were already treating patients, and I circled around in the emergency room and tried to help in any way that I could.
And so this is the emergency room where you see doctors treating patients?
Yes.
About how many doctors did you see working?
There were probably about 8 to 10 of us.
And patients?
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell us about how many patients you saw?
There were 10 to about 15, I believe.
Okay. And did you treat any of the patients?
I did. I treated. I helped and assisted in some of the ones that were already ongoing and needed just like a little bit of help here and there. And then when those ones were stabilized, I went to a different area where children were waiting that were not as critical but still needed medical care.
So there is an order in which you treat patients when they come in?
Yes.
And describe that for us.
Call it triage, and basically those patients that are the most critical get the most immediate care. The ones that need to be stabilized, it's all hands on deck, and we do everything we can to get that patient better. The ones that are less acute, those ones typically will then be next in line, and then the ones that are least acute will then be seen after the other ones.
And is that the way the procedure went that afternoon?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you said that you actually did treat some of the children yourself,
Mm-hmm.
but other doctors treated children too.
Yes.
And let me ask you then, are you familiar with the records?
Yes,
Of the Uvalde Hospital?
Yes, sir.
And is it common for doctors to review the records of other doctors?
If asked, we will do that.
I mean, you can read a medical record whether you created it or a fellow doctor did.
Yes, correct, absolutely.
And I believe at the defense's agreement, they've agreed to allow you, rather than having eight or nine doctors come in, to testify to the records.
Yes, that's correct. This witness can testify to all the injuries to the kids and all the treatment that was done by all the doctors.
Okay, you proceed.
And so have you done the time, you've spent the time to look at the records of those children that were treated at Uvalde Medical Hospital that day?
Yes, sir.
And are you familiar enough, and have you summarized it so that you can tell us the name of the child as well as the any injuries they sustained and the nature of that injury?
Yes, sir.
And you have summarized that for us?
Yes, I have them here, if you don't mind me using my notes.
And we may not be in the same order, so it may take
Okay.
a second for you to find it.
Okay.
But if we could start with Exhibit 910. Mia Cerrillo. Could you tell us what injuries Mia Cerrillo sustained?
From the summary on the medical record, she had pretty significant shrapnel injuries.
And what is shrapnel injury?
Shrapnel is basically little parts of, or fragments of bullets.
Fragments of bullets?
Fragments of bullets that get embedded in the skin or other locations.
And was there a location in which she had the shrapnel?
Yes, sir. She had fairly significant shrapnel to her thorax, which is basically the back and the chest area, in the left flank, and then on her left shoulder.
And when you see shrapnel in somebody, do you remove that shrapnel?
If it's superficial enough, then yes. Otherwise, it can work its way out. Sometimes it, may need to be surgically removed if it's symptomatic, if it's causing pain or causing nerve impingement. Or
So with all of these shrapnel wounds, the issue is if it's superficial, it can be removed.
yes.
And if it's deeper, why would you not remove it?
Just have to weigh if it's doing more harm than good, then you would definitely want to remove it. I mean, sorry, not good. It's not going to do good. Excuse me. If it's not causing symptoms, then it's something that could potentially be left in.
Because going in could cause harm too.
Yes, absolutely. It could cause pinching of nerves. It could cause pain, pain with movement.
And the nature, because it was shrapnel, do you have an opinion as to whether or not this was a gunshot wound?
I think it's definitely a gunshot wound.
Thank you.
This patient was treated by a different physician.
Thank you. 905. Could you tell us what injuries
AJ Martinez, he had a gunshot wound to his right thigh with significant shrapnel to the right thigh, as well as some shrapnel injuries to the left side of his head and his face.
And what is the right femur?
The femur is the long, big bone on the top part of the leg, right here.
And so was this shrapnel penetrating shrapnel or superficial?
Was the shrapnel?
Did it penetrate or was it only superficial?
It was close to the femur. and it had multiple shrapnel injuries in the subcutaneous, which is basically the layer below the skin, and in the deep soft tissue, which is
Deep soft tissue.
Mhm.
Thank you. Exhibit 906.
Significant right ankle injury from shrapnel foreign bodies. He had several pieces of shrapnel embedded in his right ankle, and some of them were large, up to 10 millimeters, which is 1 centimeter, about a little bit less than half an inch. But thinking about that being embedded in the soft tissue, that is fairly large. And then one of them was close to the Achilles tendon, which is the large tendon in the back of the lower leg where the calf attaches to the heel.
Kendall Oliver.
To her left shoulder, she had a very large soft tissue defect, fracture of her humerus, which is the bone in the upper part of the arm, significant shrapnel to the left shoulder, and then across the front of her abdomen she had quite a bit of shrapnel as well.
Not 11.
Right shoulder. He had an actual gunshot wound. It was described on the CAT scan as a massive soft tissue defect containing multiple bullet fragments of the right shoulder. And then, of course, multiple shrapnel pieces in that area as well.
And what is massive?
So this exit wound was described as 4 centimeters by 4 centimeters, which is about 1.5 inches in such a small anatomic area for a child. That's
Okay.
he had shrapnel injuries to his right thigh. So on the lateral part of his right thigh.
Thank you. Chloe Torres, exhibit 914.
So this girl, she had shrapnel to her left thigh and also to the left side of her face, along the frontal bone and then around this area of her scalp.
And where is her frontal bone?
Right here on the forehead. On the forehead.
And there was shrapnel there.
Yes.
Maya Zamora.
When she arrived, she was scared, anxious. She wasn't talking. She was already receiving fluids from EMS because her blood pressure was low. She was found to have a gunshot wound to the left side of her chest, which was a sucking chest wound, which is basically air is going in, but it's not coming out, which then caused both lungs to collapse. She had a very, very large gunshot wound to the left shoulder, the left arm, and then the right hand. The ER physician that was taking care of that trauma bay, he had to do needle decompression, which is done in emergent situations to let that air out, allow the lung to expand, and then he had to put in bilateral chest tubes to continue to allow the lung to reach the pleura, which is the lining of the lung cavity. He gave fluids, crash blood, and then this patient was one of the ones that was transferred out to a trauma center.
When you say transferred out to a trauma center, tell us what that is.
BAMC is typically where we'll transfer to, university, a higher level of care that has a trauma surgeon available. Reported that he had a bullet go past his thumb and then it created significant ringing in his ears. Yeah.
And Jordan Oliveris, 907.
He reported that when he was running from the active shooter, he hit his lower leg on an object, and he had a big bruise on his lower leg.
Dr. Hauptmeier, my name is Jason Goss. I'm one of the lawyers who represent Adrian. I just want to say, I know that you would just say it's doing your job, but we appreciate that you did that, help those kids. I don't have any other questions.
Anything, redirect? No, Your Honor. Excuse, not subject to recall?
Yes, Your Honor. No, no recall.
Okay, Doctor, you are excused. The rule's been invoked, so we would appreciate it if you just wouldn't discuss the case with anybody until you're aware the trial's over with.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, let's take our morning recess. Take about 10 minutes. Please remember my instructions. Would everyone please rise for the jury?
Okay, well, obviously we saw for the first time Adrian Gonzales show emotion. I mean, we're not seeing it, but I'm sure they were showing pictures of these children and their wounds in court.
Right.
And he was clearly, visibly affected.
Right. Like we were talking about. I mean, he's a human being, and if they are showing pictures of these injured children, it obviously really impacted him. At first, we just thought, well, maybe he's wiping something out of his eyes, and then as they cut to him, we could see, no, he was crying.
And his defense attorneys have said, look, this man did the best he could at the time that, with the information he had, that's what they're going to try to prove. And they said, he's not a coward. He went in. Right. This is what the defense attorney is saying. And he is emotional. I mean, he also saw the children shot and the wounded. And so I can imagine that is just having such a big impact on everyone that's sitting in that courtroom.
And it felt sincere. I think some people put on, especially in these situations, but this feels sincere to me.
No, it feels very sincere, and we are, this is the 6th full day of trial testimony. So, and this is the first time we've really seen him show emotion. But before we lose it, I really want to go back through Melodye Flores' testimony, because there was some really important things there. At first we were thinking that her testimony was going to help prosecutors, but there were some important discrepancies. She originally, said there were no decals on that squad car. There were. She originally gave a description that the officer that she encountered was wearing a khaki pants and a white shirt. No, he's wearing...
And had a beard.
And she got the clothing wrong. She got the physical description wrong. She thinks the shooter's on the south side. That he went in the south side. He actually goes in the west side. Mm-hmm. She thinks she's been shot. She has not been shot.
And there's no bullet casings on that side.
Right. And she thinks that the shooter has a handgun. He actually has a rifle. She, at one point, testifies that Adrian Gonzales doesn't say anything, and then she's reminded that he actually said, that she had told the Rangers that he said which building, and then of course it's just another, remind people that from his vantage point where he's at, he cannot see the west side. So, and then of course they ended by making her subject to recall, which would indicate that we might hear from her some more.
Yeah, I think the biggest discrepancy, and I think the most damaging discrepancy, is that she said she thought he went in to that south door. And that's what she remembers him doing, is going in after those kids on the south door, which we now know, and she now knows, of course, is not what happened.
And something that stuck out to me too is that when they ask, did you see the other 3 officers on the other side, as well, that they keep trying to put that point out there. Like there were 3 other officers that entered And of course, she says she didn't. She only saw Adrian Gonzales. It was the only encounter that she had. was with him,
Again,
but-
though, I think the purpose of this witness not only is to provide these facts, but that, again, the prosecutor is emphasizing, you heard there was a shooter out there,
Right.
and you ran towards that area to get your kids in. So again,
You ran to the danger.
You ran to
correct.
danger.
That's the distinction I think they keep making between these witnesses and Officer Gonzales.
Right, but they're pointing out that Adrian Gonzales drives the defense is pointing, Adrian Gonzales drives all the way up in his squad car to her.
Right.
Yeah.
So that he, and
he knows that there, by radio traffic, he knows that
Right.
that there's a shooter already
Right.
on the campus.
As far as he knows, he sees a puff of dirt.
Right.
He doesn't know if she's the shooter.
Right.
I mean, he doesn't have a description at that time. Is that correct? Am I right
I think
about
they
that?
did say
All
that
we
he's
know-
wearing black. Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
All we
okay.
know is at that point on the radio traffic, there's a man in black with a gun.
Okay.
And so there, as is often the case in these situations, it's very fluid. Information is not, it's coming out in fits and spurts, and we've covered many situations where oftentimes the initial information that you have is really wrong.
Right.
But this also points to that often eyewitness testimony is just so flawed.
Right.
So flawed. You want to think that your memory is like a videotape recorder, but it's really not.
No.
We don't remember things that way.
That's been proved over and over again, because how many people have been falsely convicted on eyewitness testimony?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that has been discredited, and because of the very things that she experienced, which I think the defense pointed out.
Yeah.
And, I think in a sense that some of these state witnesses, and when I say state witnesses, the state is calling these witnesses during their case in chief. We don't know what the defense is going to do, because they don't have to tell anybody what their strategy is. However, this witness is called because she can provide some facts to the case, but the problem is, again, her perception is distorted. She has a cognitive bias in a sense that she thinks the shooter has a handgun that is similar to the one she has.
That she has.
So she immediately makes a connection cognitively that's not correct. And so I think my heart goes out to her. I can't even imagine.
No.
Cannot even imagine. And she thought she was being shot at, which
Right.
we now know she was not being shot at.
And they asked her, all these specific questions, and her memory is just so off. But again, they pointed out it could be PTSD.
Right.
It could be the fact
Right.
that she's going through, she's filtering what she perceives. But like you said, I've covered cases where someone will say a car is white and another person will say it's red. And
Right.
some person will say the suspect was African American, and another person will say no, he was white. I mean, it's just sometimes witness testimony is
Well,
just all over the place.
And tunnel vision is real.
It
Yeah.
is.
Auditory exclusion is real. These are all real things, and I think that again, here we are, pretty far into this trial,
Yeah.
and she's the only person who really, in that first encounter, encounters Adrian Gonzales.
Right.
So she's really the only person that could say he didn't do anything, he didn't distract, he didn't delay, and
He was pacing.
Yeah. Instead of
But
taking
but even
cover.
they even explained that.
Yeah.
But how does the jury look past all these other discrepancies? And I don't think she's not lying.
No.
It's just a function of memory. I think it's also like, last week with Stephanie Hale. She was, by the time her testimony ended, she was adamant that about what she
Yeah.
had seen on that south side.
Right. And what she
But-
told people.
But
Yeah.
she had said something completely different to the Rangers previously, and again, I just think that's a function of memory. And sometimes our mind will also, as the years pass, will fill in the gaps.
Sure.
Right? How much coverage have
And
they?
she'd watched, they asked her, how much did you watch?
Yeah.
Did you see the news? And she's like, yes, I saw videos and I looked at them. And they also asked her, do you recall that Adrian Gonzales was on the radio saying, giving people instructions.
Right.
And, she said, no, I didn't. But clearly they have the audio tapes, the dispatch tapes, that it wasn't like he was just standing around. He is telling people where he thinks the shooter is, and he's relaying that to other officers at the time that all this is happening.
So the state will probably say, yeah, but she ran to the danger, and he stood there and should have, and the implication is he knew the shooter was on the west side of the building. Somebody told, he got that information. Why didn't he run around the west side of the building? And that's when you get into the testimony of some of these other officers that said, that's just not what you do. If you don't know exactly where it is, you try to ascertain where that the threat is before just running into it and exposing yourself.
Well, because I'm not sure if he just goes running in one direction, how does that stop the situation?
Right.
And I still can't let go of the fact there are 3 other officers on the other side of the building, one with an AR, and they get line of sight, and they don't take action. Why are those 3 officers?
Right.
How come? So Adrian Gonzales gets there 45 seconds before everybody else, and he gets charged, but the other guys don't. That's the difficulty, I think, about making what happened here criminal. It's abysmal. The law enforcement response was beyond something awful.
Right.
But how do you parse who to charge, and and certainly now Arredondo to me is a whole different situation, right? He's the chief. He has command of that, and I don't know. I don't know what a jury will do, but but Adrian Gonzales is different. He's a rank and file officer who is literally on the scene by himself for 45 seconds.
Yeah.
And so we're going to hold, because it kind of feels like we're holding him accountable for what he did in 45 seconds. I've just talked longer than 45 seconds.
Exactly.
And he goes in with the other officers and gets shot at, so it's not like he didn't do anything.
Right.
What did you make of the fact that they brought in the doctor to describe the very graphic nature of the children's wounds? Because I don't know what that has to do with Adrian Gonzales, his actions in those first 3 minutes or whatever before the gunman enters the school.
I'm not exactly sure. I can speculate, but I'm not exactly sure. It is, as we saw with his reaction, where he was crying, he's affected. We've seen how stoic he is. He's a police officer. He's seen everything. But for him to be moved like that, it's going to move the jury. It's. I don't know exactly what their purpose is, but maybe it was to, evoke some kind of emotional reaction. I don't know.
Yeah, but we've also seen juries. Juries, they really do. I think. While they will be forever changed by this.
Right.
But I think they're going to. I believe in the jury system, and I believe they can separate themselves and look specifically at his actions or inactions to make a decision about what is the right thing to do here.
Right.
And they were asked that question during voir dire, even though they didn't individually voir dire every single or question every single juror or potential juror. They did, in general, ask those questions and said, can you separate what you've already heard, separate your emotions, follow the law, and base your verdict on the testimony, not on what you've heard in the media, not on what you've seen, on the news, but or what you've read, or just everything that you've already seen, but on the facts of this case and the evidence we're going to present.
And that's tough. That's tough because I've heard you report that there were 450 potential jurors called to sit, on the panel, and they were voir diring them all together. So the 12 and the 4, and I think 4 alternates. The 12 heard the comments from their other not colleagues, but the other potential jurors. Yeah, exactly. How emotional they were.
Yeah.
How outraged they were. You're human. You're going to feel emotion when you hear that. And so for them to step away from all of that is a tall task.
Right.
And we hope that they can focus on this indictment, what the charges are, and what he is responsible or not responsible for. We hope. Yeah.
And when this goes to the jury, if they can't come to a decision, that night or that at the end of that day, do you sequester them? I mean, that's
That's a very good question. In a way, yes, because jurors are admonished. Don't talk to anybody about this case. Don't do any of your own research on this case. And I'm not throwing any jurors under the bus, but we know when they go home, they're going to do a little research. I mean, not all of them.
Talk to
some
their
of them
husbands,
have,
talk to their
some
wives.
of them have, right?
because that's human nature.
It's human nature.
You're asking people to go against
Yeah.
their nature. I mean,
And
that
it's
would
easy
be
to
really
do it on
hard.
your phone. I mean,
It really is. And so, but because it's already so publicized, it is probably the most talked, besides Sandy Hook and Columbine, it's the most talked about school shooting ever. However, what's so different about this, of course, is the officer response
Right.
in this shooting. But they've seen it probably, they've heard it already probably. So it's not like you're keeping them away from that, the chatter, the news coverage. They've already seen all of that.
Right.
So I can see probably not sequestering them for that very reason.
Well, because you'd have to put them under a rock at this. I
Yeah.
mean, let's face
Yes.
it.
and it's expensive.
Yes.
It is,
And it
and
makes them mad. Some of them makes them mad.
Yeah.
are you surprised that we have not yet seen? We have yet to see one body cam in this trial.
Yes, I am surprised. I wonder. I don't know what the state's, what the witness list is like. You said it was very long.
It's long.
But yeah, I am.
We haven't
I'm
heard a dispatch
surprised.
recording.
I know.
We've heard a couple 911 calls, but because to me, part of making the case, let's face it, we're in a visual society.
Right.
We haven't yet. Obviously we're not seeing these pictures on the live stream. They're seeing them in court, but part of that would be visually. Like we also haven't seen. There's surveillance video showing
Yep.
the shooter walking across his trajectory. We haven't seen any of that, and
Right.
so I'm stunned because every day I think I'm going to come
Yeah.
in and today is going to be going to
Yeah.
be body cams when we've seen a lot of them. I'm just going, why have we not seen this? I don't really understand the prosecution's trial strategy here.
Yeah, I don't know, but I just remember in opening statements, which by the way is not evidence, and I
Right.
think a lot of people need to be reminded that the law, whatever the lawyers say, it is not evidence unless it comes from that witness in that witness
Right.
stand. It is not evidence. However, they are laying out their cases, and one of the things I do believe one of the defense attorneys said is when they were referring to Melodye Flores that with best intentions, she was kind of all over the place.
Right.
Yeah.
And so today, they backed up their opening statement. Melodye Flores testified on the stand that she recalled different things, that she wasn't sure of this or that. So all right, the defense has backed up that one claim in their statement that she was just all over the place. They are very focused on almost second to second timing on this case. When he arrived, 11:38, 11:39, this happened. Their focus is really those first 3 minutes. It looks maybe even a minute and a half for the most part. But yeah, I am surprised that we haven't seen those officers enter the building, because nothing makes you angrier if you look at it like we're looking at them standing around. I mean, sure, of course now we know that a couple of them approached the door, and when they
they didn't try it.
No, they never tried. They never tried.
Right, but when they approached the door,
They get shots.
they get shot
Right, yeah.
through the wall, right?
Yeah, and a lot of the witnesses, a lot of the potential jurors said they had seen some of this already. I mean, so a lot of them have seen that footage, but again, you've got to set that aside and decide, is Adrian Gonzales culpable for what happened to those children?
And
I don't even know that
did.
they can say that through the medical examiner, which child was shot when and who and what, and what happened during those 3 minutes that he didn't get into the school with the other officers.
Right.
So I just find it's really an uphill battle for, I think, the prosecution to prove their case.
It's just hard for me to think if the standard is distract and delay, there are 3 officers with guns, and one of them is a long gun, and they
Right.
didn't stop. They did not distract or delay. That's what I can't get out of my head. And maybe the state can answer. I don't know. I don't know.
That's
Well,
a tough one.
And
It's
what
a tough one.
what they haven't seen either, I mean, while all of this is happening, at some point, Arredondo, the chief, he's trying to negotiate with this shooter. And when you listen to his negotiations, it is clear that he is not trained in negotiations, because
Right.
I've heard negotiations from very qualified people like, the Dallas Police Department's negotiators are some of the best in the world. And you hear the way Arredondo is talking to the shooter, and it's very elementary almost. And so, at that point when he's trying to negotiate, to me it seems like, well, why aren't they just, going ahead and
Right.
going in? And that is frustrating when you hear the chief of police and his actions throughout all of this. And if I were the defense attorneys, I would definitely bring all that up.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
based on what you've seen and heard so far, though, if when the prosecution rests, if you're the defense, do you even put on a case? Do you
Well, from what I've seen at this point, to me, I'm not sure that the case has been proved against the Officer Gonzales. And by the way our court system is, the defense doesn't have to do anything.
Right.
That's like I said earlier, the government does the charging. They have the burden of proof. So basically, defense could say, Your Honor, we rest and close. Rest. Yeah.
And technically, the jury has heard from Adrian Gonzales. They heard extensively,
Yes.
his statement to the Texas Rangers, which, again, just has this. He walks through it methodically, what he did, how he did it, and he's not been Mirandized. He doesn't have a lawyer with him, so his guard is down, right?
Right.
And he has no reason at that point to lie, because he doesn't know
Right.
that at some point he's going to become a
Right,
suspect.
he doesn't think he's a
No,
suspect.
of course not. Of course not. And if you were to ask me at this point, based on the evidence that the state has brought in, and I've heard you ask some of the other experts, would you put Adrian Gonzales on the stand? At this point, absolutely not.
Yeah.
I would not put him on the stand. However, that is the client's decision. The client can say all day long, even though I say, I don't think it's in your best interest to take the stand. If he wants to take the stand, it's his decision. However, I think he's probably testified in trials before.
Right.
So he understands how it works, and he's probably going to follow his attorney's advice. Plus, the jury's heard from him.
Yeah.
Well, and you open yourself up to a lot of problems
Yeah.
when you get up and testify, because if they can pinpoint some discrepancy, any discrepancy, that becomes a potential problem for him.
100%.
And so, and I, Nico LaHood and these other attorneys are really good. I cannot imagine that he would not listen to his attorney.
Yeah.
And now, if you were the prosecutor in this case, what would you have done differently? How would you have tried this case? Would you have even brought this case?
Oh gosh, it's so hard. It's hard for me to say because I don't know all of their evidence. So it's hard to say. Now, ask me after they close, right? After they rest, I should say. So, but I don't know at this point. I think that they had an uphill battle. I really do. I mean, I think on the street, if you talk to people on the
Yeah.
street, they'll say, why are they prosecuting this guy?
Yeah.
I mean, there are 377 other officers that were in the same position as this gentleman. Why? Just because he got into the school? So it's not making sense to people why he has been singled out. And I think they're going to have to kind of explain. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And we were talking during the break, or when there was testimony going on, the fact that, the prosecution seems at times to be caught off guard by what their own witnesses are going to say. To me, it just feels like these witnesses were not prepared. I mean, how would you prepare a witness like Melodye Flores? Because they seemed like they didn't realize how she was going to testify, I think.
Well, one of the things they teach you, and this is what you learn, is that you get your bad facts out first.
Right.
And what I would do likely in any case as a prosecutor or as a defense attorney is to address the weaknesses and the flaws in the testimony that may be coming out. And that is one thing I have not seen, is address it up front and you take the power and the steam out of the cross in a sense.
Right, because they already knew there was discrepancies in her
Yeah.
accounts, so why not go ahead and walk her through
Exactly.
them?
Exactly.
Swearing in someone.
Yes.
Okay, we're back in court.
Good morning, ma'am. Raise your right hand for me, please. You do solemnly swear the evidence of the testimony given in this cause will be the truth, so help you God. Have a seat over here, please. Can you be seated in the courtroom? Thank you. State's called the next witness. She's been sworn, so you may proceed.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please state your name for the record.
Jamie Torres,
And Ms. Torres, where do you currently reside? Don't give me the specific address, but what town do you live in?
Uvalde, Texas.
And in May of 2022, where were you living?
Uvalde, Texas.
Now, I'm going to be real specific and go ahead and take you back to May 24th of 2022. Are you the mother of Chloe? And for the record, can you spell Chloe's first name?
Khloie.
And what grade was Chloe in on May 24th of 2022?
4th.
And how old was Chloe at the time?
10.
And what school was she going to on that date?
Robb Elementary.
And what grade was she in?
4th.
And do you recall what room she was in at Robb Elementary?
112.
Now, you were not at school that day?
No.
And was there something special about this going on at school that day that she was excited about?
Yes.
And what was that?
Sorry. She was excited. She had left early that day to get bubbles and watch a movie after awards. And so she was excited for that.
And did she receive an award that day?
She did.
And what was that award?
The Good Citizen Award.
Now, at some point, did you receive a text message from the school?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember what that message was?
Yes, that the school went into a lockdown and to stay away from the premises, that everything was under control.
At some point, did you receive some information that was a little bit more than a regular lockdown?
Yes.
Okay. And what was the information that you received?
That there was, well, first I think it said it was a bailout to stay away, and then another one came in and said active shooter.
Okay. Now, when were you able to see Chloe on May 24th?
It was after she came home from the hospital because I was out of town.
And she was at the hospital for physical injuries that she suffered?
Yes.
And can you describe for the jury what those injuries are or were?
Yes, she had bullet fragments in her forehead and in her left thigh.
Now, those bullet fragments in her head, do they still exist today?
Yes.
What about the ones in her leg?
Yes.
And does she suffer from the fragments in her head?
Yes, she gets headaches frequently. And then in her leg, if she walks kind of far, sometimes she'll say that she has to stop because her leg was hurt her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you decided if you will remove the shrapnel, or are you going to leave it?
As of right now, they don't want to mess with it because it's sitting to where it's able to stay.
They did say if it was to move, then they would go ahead, but as of now, they think she's fine with it in there.
Okay. I'm gonna leave it at that. Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Ms. Torres, I'm very grateful, Chloe, that you still have her, because as we know, a lot of people don't. So I hope she continues to be a blessing to you.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Thanks.
Pass it.
Okay, recall either side?
No recall, Your Honor.
No, Judge.
Okay, ma'am, you are released from the subpoena and you are excused. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
State calls Jennifer Haby. Step out real quick, Judge.
Yes. Good morning. Could you raise your right hand, please? You solemnly swear the evidence in the testimony you're giving this cause will be the truth, so help you God. Have a seat right over here. That microphone will adjust, make it comfortable, and speak up so everybody can hear you, please.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Please state your name for the record.
Jennifer Haby,
And Ms. Haby, where are you currently employed?
Bluebonnet Children's Advocacy Center.
And what is your job position there?
I'm a licensed professional counselor.
And where did you go to college at?
Texas State University and then Sul Ross University.
And you got your bachelor's degree from Texas State?
Yes, ma'am.
And what was that in?
Education.
And what did you get from Sul Ross University?
Master's of Education and Counseling.
Okay. And did you previously work for the Uvalde Independent School District?
Yes.
And what did you work as?
I was a teacher.
And was that before you obtained your master's?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And are you a licensed professional counselor?
Yes, ma'am, through the state of Texas.
Okay. And are you licensed by the Texas Board of Professional Counselors?
Yes, ma'am.
And you're current on your licensing?
Yes, ma'am.
At this point, Your Honor, the state would tender Jennifer Haby as an expert in post-traumatic stress disorder counseling.
We're not in federal court. I don't know that the court can do that, but I
Do
will
you have
say.
any questions on?
Yeah, as a voir dire, I will say that I will agree that she is good at what she does and that she has every right to testify about what she did.
All right, so you may proceed.
Ms. Haby, can you, where are you currently employed at?
Right now, Bluebonnet Children's Advocacy Center.
Okay, and for the jury and for the record, can you explain what the Bluebonnet Children's Advocacy Center is?
Yes, it gives a safe place for children to come and talk about their trauma, abuse, and then through that, it's so the child doesn't have to say things over and over again. They say it one time to an interviewer, and through that, officers, medical, CPS all work together through the investigation, and then they offer mental health services to the child, for the child.
So at the Children's Advocacy Center, you deal with clients, patients who suffer abuse or trauma of some sort?
Yes.
Okay. And through that, have you provided counseling to some of the survivors in this case?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Now, and for the record, those medical records and counseling records have already been admitted into evidence, okay? So what I want you to do, though, is can you explain to the jury what is post-traumatic stress disorder?
PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. It is ongoing stress after the traumatic event.
And how does that manifest itself? What are the symptoms of PTSD?
It can manifest itself in many ways, through the body, through headaches, stomach aches, nausea, as well as wanting to leave your home or not being able to leave your home, socially, trust with others.
And we call that disassociation?
Dissociation, yes.
Is that what it's called? Okay. And do you also see children with anxiety and depression that are suffering from PTSD?
Both, yes.
Okay. And are these considered a disorder?
Yes.
Or an impairment of some sort?
Disorder, yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what are the different ways that these are explained through children with PTSD? In other words, do they express it through like guilt, or I mean, how does that work?
Through PTSD, can you repeat your question? Just so I'm answering it.
Right. Well, if they have PTSD, do they also have maybe other impairments? Such as
Yes. Wait, well, I apologize. Yes, usually with PTSD, anxiety comes as well with it, hand in hand, only because the stress, your body becomes alert, hyper alert, and stress rises, and that brings on anxiety.
Okay. Do you know what survivor's guilt is?
Yes, ma'am.
Can you explain that to the jury?
Yes, it's when a survivor feels guilty for living.
And have you seen that through some of your patients through their counseling?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what is a triggering event?
It's when something happens that escalates anxiety in their body. It's when you're triggered by something and it brings you back to whatever traumatic event they had.
Is it a sensation that stimulates the nervous system?
Yes.
And is it a biological response in a child?
Yes.
And can you explain that?
It's an automatic response in the body. It's not something that's they think of. It's protection. It's dissociation, it's protection.
And what can be a triggering event in a child with PTSD?
I've seen many things that trigger children right now. I'm seeing helicopters, loud noises, trigger children, colors.
What colors?
Red.
Why red?
It's the color of blood.
Okay. And explain to the jury what these triggers do. What do they do in a child physically that they're called triggering events? What do they do?
Some children, when triggered, they might cry. Their heart might race. They might get under a table and not want to leave. They might want to hold someone's hand for safety. I have many clients I'm trying to go through, so many of them.
Well, do these triggering events take the child back to the trauma that was suffered?
Yes.
Okay. And is the child able to differentiate between where they are now versus the traumatic event?
Not always. It brings them back to the event, and their brain believes, or their brain is saying, no, this is happening, although they know obviously it's not happening over and over again, but they believe it is. their body feels it as if it's happening.
Now, what type of techniques do you use in providing treatment for post-traumatic stress disorder?
So I work with children and adolescents with PTSD, and we use sensory boxes, art, breathing techniques, reframing, like rewriting or rethinking the trauma, knowing it's not there any longer, narrative, oral and written.
Is one of these things you do called eye movement desensitization and reprocessing?
EMDR, yes ma'am.
Okay.
That is evidence-based treatment.
And can you explain to the jury what that is and how it works?
Sure. It's bilateral stimulation of the brain, which it's used to reprocess the trauma they've had. So, although, may I give an example?
Yes.
Although they know the trauma has already passed, after EMDR, and bilateral stimulation just means back and forth with the brain, after EMDR, then they're able to talk about the trauma and it doesn't affect them as much. So their nervous system is a little de-escalated, I should say.
Okay. And what are the things you do with that? I mean, what specific techniques do you use?
So you can use this eye movement. So you can use a light bar where they follow the light back and forth, or with my age, we use a lot of tappers, and all that's doing is buzzing their hand like left, right, and that's bilateral stimulation of the brain, which helps reprocess the trauma. That's what it's used for.
And what is TFCBT?
Trauma focused cognitive behavior therapy. It is for children and adolescents to, at their own pace, walk through their trauma with coping skills, narratives, and so forth.
Okay. Now, is post-traumatic stress disorder, is that something that can be eventually treated, and or how does that work?
Treated, yes. Both TFCBT and EMDR are both evidence-based for PTSD for children and adolescents. So PTSD can be treated, yes. People do heal from PTSD, although it is always ongoing. And when I say that, that sounds kind of backwards, but what I'm saying is it does not affect them as much, because our goal, or my goal as a therapist or a therapist, would be that they're able to hopefully function day to day in their living, live a healthier day than they did the day of the trauma, right? Making progress.
Is there a permanent brain injury associated with PTSD?
Yes.
And again, you treated some of the survivors in room 112, is that right?
Yes.
Pass the witness, Your Honor.
Thank you, Judge. Ms. KBT.
Yes, sir.
My name's Jason Goss. I'm one of the attorneys for Adrian, and I want to start out by saying thank you. I mean, I know it's difficult even for treaters and providers, because you're having to experience that with kids, right? So
Yes.
There's a secondary trauma that goes on with you as you're having to work through that. The fact you're willing to do that is important. So thank you for that. I did want to talk. Not necessarily, I know that we talked about, yes, you've treated some of the kids. Are they all confined to 111 and who were in 111 and 112? Or were there some other kids at Robb that day that have also come in for treatment?
I treat many kids from Robb.
So not necessarily even the ones that were in the room.
Not necessarily.
With the shooter. And that's because, and the point I'm trying to make with that is that's because you can get anybody that's involved in that situation can have PTSD for that situation.
Yes, sir.
Including the officers.
Yes, sir.
Including the witnesses, the teachers, the adult. You would agree with that?
Anyone in a traumatic event.
Sure. And I guess and I didn't hear, I know you worked at well, I call it CAC, but a child advocacy center.
Yes, sir.
Do you ever do forensic interviews, or are you just the counseling side of that?
On the counseling side, so after the forensic interviewer, then the client is passed to me
Okay.
for therapy.
And it sounds like you have a lot of experience with PTSD and trauma and talking to people who have suffered trauma. So I want to ask you some questions about your understanding of the medicine and the science in your discipline, and as far as like what you have been able to learn about how people who experience trauma, I guess, relate and talk about it. Okay, so you would agree that, like with the kids you've worked with the adults you've worked with, who has experienced that kind of trauma, the next day after that is not, they're not 100% accurately recalling everything that's happened perfectly, because trauma affects memory and stress affects memory.
Trauma does affect memory.
It does, right?
Correct.
And you know that. And so asking somebody the next day who's gone through a situation like that what happened, you might not get exactly what happened or exactly in the right order or exactly in the right times, right? Because if they've gone through a stressful event like that has caused trauma, then their recall of that can be inaccurate. You would agree with that?
You might not. Every person's different.
Sure. And just so you know, I'm not talking about any of your kids or any of those kids at Robb. I'm not talking about any of their statements or anything about them. I'm using your experience to talk about, because there are other witnesses and other people that were at the scene who
Yes, sir.
also kind of went through this. You see what I mean?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So the stress, you know that stress can be, like maybe you know, maybe you don't, but stress can cause things like auditory exclusion when it's happening. It can cause time compression when it's happening. Those kind of things can happen as the person is witnessing an event if it's a high stress or traumatic event.
Yes, sir.
Right. And so sometimes they don't hear things that you would think that they hear. Sometimes they mix things up, like what order things were in, right?
Yes.
You would agree with that, because, and I don't know if you've had this experience, but even people who, somebody can be absolutely sure of something and then see a video that didn't happen the way they thought it happened, but in their mind, because of the way their memory has been kind of forged into trauma, in their mind it happened this way, even if there was evidence that they could see that it didn't happen that way. And that's because that's how people process in trauma. You would agree with that?
That's how trauma works.
Right. So, and that's all I'm trying to point out is that it is hard. It is hard with witnesses and other people to get sometimes accurate recounting if they've gone through a traumatic event.
As a therapist, I'm not there for accuracy. I'm here to work on their healing.
100%. But I think one of the things you do want them to do is process by, like you said, you use different techniques to process by remembering or recounting the trauma or going through and talking about their trauma. And like I said, it's not up to you, or you don't care whether they're accurate. But you don't care if they're accurate about what they're saying. You want them to process it therapeutically.
Correct.
Right. But your experience and understanding of how trauma works and how stress works on memory and recalling and recounting is really where I'm going to. Like, that it can affect those different things. It's a physiological effect that happens to people.
Yes.
Right. I'll pass it later. And thank you again.
No more questions, Judge, and she's excused.
Not subject to recall, Mr. Gus?
No, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. You are excused, not subject to recall. Thank you very much.
Mike Witzgall.
incoming judge is just a little slow with this case.
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, this witness was previously sworn outside your presence. He is under oath, so you may have a seat, sir.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen.
Would you introduce yourself to the jury, please?
Yeah. Afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Michael Witzgall. I'm a retired police officer. My career is with Dallas, and I'm here as an expert witness in training with law enforcement.
And what do you do these days, Mr. Witzgall?
These days, sir,
Yes, sir.
I am retired. I sold the law enforcement business, and I am now a gentleman farmer.
Does that mean you're broke?
Most of the time, yes, sir.
Would you tell me what your career in law enforcement is, please? Share that with the jury.
All right, law enforcement, I started with Dallas in 1988. I graduated from the academy in 1989. And as typical, I spent several years on patrol, and then I switched to Dallas SWAT. I was with the elite SWAT teams for several years. And then I ended up getting hurt pretty bad, so I went back to patrol. Which time in 1998 I was forced into medical retirement, and that injury eventually led to the loss of my left leg. And then I started a training company strictly teaching SWAT, hostage rescue, active shooter, amongst other subjects.
And so, how long have you been teaching, or how long did you teach SWAT, hostage rescue, and active shooter?
22 years.
And what is the difference between SWAT training, hostage rescue training, and active shooter training?
Ladies and gentlemen, it all blends. It really does. Subjects that you learn in hostage rescue also will transfer across to active shooter. The difference being active shooter training is almost an exclusive of patrol officers, guys that are out working, guys and gals that are out working the field constantly. SWAT, you're off to the side a little bit until you're called.
So an active shooter training is for the people that are going to be first responders. Is that
Absolutely,
the
yes,
way
sir.
to say it?
Yes.
And did you develop an active shooter training program for Texas peace officers?
I did. The curriculum is what
Yes,
you're
sir.
speaking of. Yes, sir.
Could you tell us about the training that you developed?
First and foremost, everything is as much hands-on as we can possibly make it. So it's 25% lecture, PowerPoint lectures, and 75% hands-on out in the field doing drills, scenarios. I based this curriculum back in my military days. I was trained in hostage rescue and how to clear an embassy, because back in the 70s, a lot of people don't know this, but we lost a lot of embassies. Embassies and schools, there's a lot of similarities to them, long hallways, offset rooms, big rooms, classrooms and stuff. So that's what I based the curriculum on at the start. Now, when I was with Dallas, my sergeant, Tom Shelton, far-reaching, we went into schools long before Columbine, and we did what would be now called active shooter training. We did this at Sunset, I think that was in middle school, I don't remember, South Oak Cliff High School, and several other elementary schools.
And so you have decided to divide it 75%, 25%.
Yes, sir.
Why is that?
It does no good for an officer to be trained in something unless Of this nature, okay, of this nature. To be trained in this type of thing without hands-on, to develop almost an automatic response. I'm sure you've heard the term muscle memory and things like that. Yeah, absolutely. You cannot do that in a pure classroom setting.
And so you spend 75% of the time in the field.
Yes, sir.
And what does in the field mean?
We very infrequently, ladies and gentlemen, were we able to actually get into a school, because a lot of times schools were running at the time. So we had false walls that we put up, long hallways, 100 feet long. We'd have rooms off to the side. So we would be doing drills on what we could simulate for a school. Now, we also did in this curriculum, the 75% part, we did, because we've had active shooters in churches, okay? I know people kind of look at that in defense of God's word, but not in defiance, all right? We went to nightclubs when we could find one. We went to movie theaters, pretty much any place that there have been an active shooter, sir, that we could get into.
Does that include open fields?
Yes, sir, it does.
And how many hours was this training?
The total training, sir,
Yes, sir.
40 hours.
We noticed that there's other active shooter training for 8 hours.
Mm-hmm.
So how would you distinguish an 8-hour course?
8 hours isn't enough to do much of anything, sir, other than classroom work. They might be able to do some hands-on, but in my opinion, this is just strictly my opinion, it's greatly deficient in any type of what we would call developing muscle memory.
Now, did you have a title for your course, the 40-hour course?
Yes, sir, it was active shooter, immediate response.
And let's go over both of those terms. What does active shooter mean?
Active shooter, an uncontrolled situation where there is an assailant, either, forgive me, in a school, outside of a school, at a church, outside, moving around, it didn't matter. All right, so that is an active shooter. The whole situation is out of control in that moment. Okay, the immediate response.
And when you say out of control,
Please.
in the shooter part, is that just obvious? It's out of control because there's active shooting?
Yes, yes, sir.
I hate to be too
No.
fundamental, but the point is there's shooting going on.
Yes, sir.
And does it also include that there's people in danger?
Yes, sir.
And that's the nature of that?
That is the nature, pardon me, that's the nature of the beast.
Okay. And then the second part of the title of your course was what?
Immediate response. What this means, when there's an active shooter, we cannot sit around and wait. And most of law enforcement, from the day you are in the academy, they tell you never do anything by yourself. Never ever. Never make a traffic stop without somebody coming by to back you up. In an active shooter situation, because of the lethality, the nature of the whole thing, we have to act, which can mean acting completely and wholly alone.
And that's what immediate response means?
Yes, sir.
So in an active shooter situation, and I'm just asking about what you trained
Yes,
in
sir.
the 40-hour course. Active shooter situation, immediate response, if a first responder is there, what is your training as to whether they should wait for backup?
We've got to stop the killing. There's no other way I can say that, folks, okay? You can't wait for backup. I know there are curriculums out there, sir, that teach, always wait for 2 or 3 more guys. In my opinion, and the way I train people, you don't have time to wait. You've got to make a move.
And is that what solo entry is?
It can be, yes, sir.
And when you say you've got to make a move, where do you make the move to? What does your training teach?
Depends on the circumstances, okay? Outside, if it's a big park, all right? I know where the bad guy's been. By bodies, by blood trails. I know where his direction might be going. You do that by auditory sounds, gunfire. My job then is I've got to get in front of him to keep him from entering soft targets.
What's a soft target?
These days, pretty much anything, sir, I'm sorry. Schools, churches, hospitals,
Why is it called a soft target?
because there's no defense. They don't have, most of the time, they don't have security guards.
When we were talking about they, who are you speaking of?
I'm sorry, the ISD. I know many ISDs have police departments now, but for many years they did not. Hospitals might have some security. They hire off-duty cops, but it's never enough. And you can never put everybody, you don't have enough people to put at every door.
I guess by soft target, are you saying a target which people can be
Easily.
victims of an active shooter?
Yes, sir, easily victims of an active shooter.
Is that why time is of the essence?
Yes, sir.
And what does gunfire have to do with what your action is?
Depending, okay, if I'm the responding officer, depending on where I am at, I hear gunfire, I need to march to the sound of gunfire, and I'm heading that direction. All right, I'm not just hanging back. If I'm in a situation to where I know that there's been an active shooter, I see all the evidence, blood holes in the wall and stuff, then I follow that evidence also.
So if you get there a little late, you may see evidence of the active shooting that's already occurred.
Yes,
or
sir.
has been occurring.
Yes, sir.
But if you get there before there's bodies or blood trails, is gunfire important to you?
It's critical.
And critical, it means what?
I need to move toward that gunfire.
What if you're alone?
I need to move to that gunfire, sir.
If you are the first responder, is moving toward gunfire the primary objective then?
Yes, sir.
Is it also important to tell other officers where you are?
It's all happening at the same time. Now, this is basic police. I did not teach this. They should know this. I get out. If I'm the responding officer, I'm on my radio. I'm moving to where I hear gunfire. I am telling my dispatch or anybody that can hear me, other people on the radio, I'm telling them my location, I'm telling them my direction of travel, and if I have information on the suspect, I'm telling the suspect information, clothing description, hair description. I'm telling them I'm marching to gunfire. I've heard gunfire in this area. Might be around the corner, might be in a park way off to the side. I've got to get there, and I need backup. I won't kid you. I desperately need backup, but I also know I can't wait.
And so when you hear gunfire, there's two objectives. One is go to the gunfire. The other is to tell other people.
Yes, sir.
Notify them either for backup as well as to notify them where the problem is.
Yes, sir.
Which of those takes priority?
Boy, because we are trained never to operate alone, my internal police officer says, no, tell them the information, but I know I've got to get to the gunfire. And you can do it simultaneously.
What does that mean?
At the same time, I can run to gunfire. I can move with one hand on my weapon or my weapon out and on the radio.
Okay, so it's not an either or.
No, sir, it is not.
And ultimately, you have a room full of police officers that you're training.
Yes, sir.
What is your ultimate goal for these officers?
Could you be more specific, sir?
Sure. Not only, well, let me ask it this way. When you run to gunfire, do you do that recklessly?
Never. You can move tactically.
And what does tactically mean?
Okay, I'll use the example of an open area. All right, hopefully there's trees, other things that I can move to leapfrog from one to the other. All right, I'm doing it fast, and I'm not doing it with reckless abandon. I'm moving tactically. That's what we talk about. Yeah, if it's a completely open field, well, I'm in a lot of danger. I know I'm in a lot of danger. So
You still move to the gunfire?
I'm still moving to the gunfire.
And you talked about trees. Is that this concept of cover and concealment?
Yes, sir.
And explain that for us.
Cover is what protects you from bullets. Concealment is what hides you from the bullets.
And so as you teach going to the gunfire, you teach them to do it as safely as possible?
As safely as possible, yes, sir.
And that's by using any cover or
Any
concealment?
cover that you can find.
Is that part of what these exercises are all about?
Yes, sir.
To go through that? Now, fear is part of this active shooter, right? There's a threat.
Yes, sir.
And does your curriculum cover that issue?
We discuss, yes, sir. I'm sorry, I cut you off. We discuss how to handle fear. Everybody's afraid. And if you're not afraid of gunfire, you're a little bit of a knucklehead. I've been in the military. I was under fire many times. All right? Yeah, I was scared. Same thing with being a cop. But you have to learn to fight through the fear.
Do you teach the officers in your class how to fight through the fear?
We discuss it, sir. That's not something you do in the field, but we teach them, really to fight through the fear. Take a few deep breaths and focus. There's nothing complicated about it.
Take a couple of deep breaths.
Yes, sir.
And focus.
And focus.
And is fear part of that fight or flight? Is
It
that
is.
part of what you teach?
Yes, sir. We discuss fight or flight syndrome.
And what is that?
It is, excuse me, fight or flight. Your response, your internal response, when you are confronted with something that could harm you, you go into fight or flight. It's a massive adrenaline dump, all right, that your body says, man, we need to get out of here. And there are physiological changes in your body that can make the difference for you. For instance, your heartbeat can be normal. I don't know what your heartbeat is normally, but it can go up to 200 beats a minute within not even a second. That's part of fight or flight. And you have to fight through it because your natural reaction is, man, I got to get away from this. And we can't do that as police officers.
So as part of the lecture, how to fight, how to work through that?
We discuss that, yes, sir.
So you expose the officers to that information?
Yes.
Knowing that it's a potential?
Knowing that it will happen, sir.
Not a potential?
It's not a potential, it's a certainty.
And so now could we move to the field?
Yes, sir.
So how many days do you say stay in the field out of this 40-hour work week?
Well, I mean, every day is 25, 75.
Oh, every day?
Every day.
Okay.
Fridays were usually a little bit of a short day because when we say it's 40 hours, I guarantee you those officers were out there with me for about 50 or 60 hours. All right, 40 hours is all that we can give them credit for.
So that's the basic then?
Yes, sir. Well, no, sir, the active shooter.
Okay. And then this is where you set up different scenarios?
As best we can, yes, sir. What we would do is we'd set up the panels for the long hallways, about 100 feet, sometimes longer. We'd have rooms that were enclosed or at least half enclosed. We had shooting dummies, and we would move these dummies in around the room and things like that. So there would actually be something. Occasionally we'd put an instructor in there, but we use tremendous amount of airsoft, and holy cow, that stuff hurts. And
what is airsoft?
What's that, sir?
Airsoft, what is
Airsoft. Airsoft is like a BB gun, All right, it's a biodegradable BB that, it'll go away after a while, but they hurt, they sting, and all my instructors have to wear, and students too, when we're doing these drills, they have to wear protective gear.
So you make it as lifelike as you
As
possibly.
realistic as we can. There are things, sir, that I can simulate, emulate, and there are certain things, even in training, I cannot. It's impossible.
What do you mean by that?
Odors, sound, the smell of gunfire, blood.
So training, you're not going to be firing off weapons.
I did not do live fire. That's with real ammunition and stuff. That was by choice because it was actually, sir, a liability issue. But we used tens of thousands of BBs in a school.
Okay. And as part of your training, open areas, did you train in open areas or
Yes, sir.
have a scenario of open
We
areas?
tried sometimes. We were very limited with the amount of the open area that we could use. Uvalde, we used a park, but there were people in the park, so we couldn't really do scenario-based training other than have somebody, an instructor, walking around, and the officers would have to maneuver into position to neutralize that threat.
And in the training, the 75%, did that include solo entry by officers?
Yes, sir, it did.
And did it include multiple?
Yes, sir.
So it's not just training for a group, how they should tactically move together, but also for one person.
Yes, sir. Again, 75-25, and I don't mean to be so redundant with that, but this is crucial. So many schools, even tactical schools, are death by PowerPoint. All right, but again, there's no way to learn. There's no muscle memory in what I'm talking about. In places like, anywhere we trained, whether it was a church, a park, we did bus takedowns, everything starts with one man. And after I am satisfied, which sometimes happens, all right, I'm satisfied, then we move on to 2-man, 3-man, 4-man.
And specifically, did you do this 40-hour training in Uvalde, Texas?
Yes, sir.
And the defendant, Adrian Gonzales, did he attend that training?
Yes, sir.
And when people attend your training, they have to sign in, is that correct?
Every day, yes, sir.
And you have records of that?
Yes, sir, I do.
And is it once a day or twice a day?
Now, TCL says twice a day now.
Okay. And so when you have those rosters, it indicates not only did somebody sign up to take your class, but they were there.
They were there
at least
every
twice a
day. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. And as they're going through the training, what is the purpose of photographing?
All right, we took approximately 300 pictures every school. Actually, I'm sorry, ladies and gentlemen, we took about 600 pictures. I'd have to go back through after the training ended and get rid of all the ones that were blurry, and I'm nobody's good photographer. My finger would be in the way half the time. We used a big Nikon camera for this with a telephoto lens. A lot of times, one is a matter of record. It helps me if I am subpoenaed. All right, I can go back, look through the pictures, and yes, the student, I can see them on this day at this time. Also, sir, the students like the pictures. We always made them a disc, or as things progressed later on, I was able to email them to the students. I'm no technical wizard, so I had to learn that one.
May I approach your honor?
Yes.
Exhibits 916, 917, 918, 19, and 20.
Yes, sir.
Do you recognize those photographs?
Yes, sir. Yeah, one. Yes, sir. I'm wondering why he doesn't have eye protection on in that picture, but okay. This is at the stadium. No, I'm sorry. I should. Yes, sir. Sorry. This is at the
I
football
don't need you to
stadium.
describe this. I just need you to say you identify those as being your photographs.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
state offers exhibits 916 through 920.
Maybe we were both judges.
Yes.
Okay, so we've been listening to this law enforcement trainer is basically saying that Adrian Gonzales attended his school and that
We need to take up a matter outside your presence, so I'm going to go ahead and let you all go to lunch early, and we'll see you back here at 1:30. Everyone rise for the jury.
Okay, so they are taking a lunch break now, and we've been, listening to this law enforcement trainer saying that Adrian Gonzales went through this 40 hours of training, and that officers in this training are essentially trained to go against the original training, which is generally you wait for backup, but they're trained, you go towards the gunfire, you don't wait in an active shooter situation. Terry, when you listen to that, what is that having an impact?
It could. I think they're going to take him on what's called voir dire. I think the defense is going to ask him some questions outside the presence of the jury.
I can see why that's a concern for theirs. The purpose of introducing multiple photographs was just to show, because he's in different clothing, that he did participate in each one of them. I think that there's one that's obvious. 919, I would withdraw. And 917.
All we're really asking is just
to edit it out,
black marker over the thing, so it's not.
I can.
Yeah, let's go ahead and over the lunch recess, go ahead and redact what's displayed on the cap.
Yes, sir.
And then tender it to them to see if they're satisfied with that.
Thank you, Judge.
All right, we'll be in recess till 1:30.
Are you the guy that